All right. There's an echo.
No, I just took from here.
Oh, okay. So welcome everybody to our public hearing regarding Charter Amendment Resolution number 2-2025, Council Manager Form of Government. I am going to call this meeting to order at 6:36 p.m. Assistant Thomas, if you could do a roll call for us, please.
Yes. Commissioner Brooks,
Present.
Commissioner Colbert,
Here.
Mayor Franklin,
Here.
Commissioner Watt,
Present.
Commissioner Ercole,
Here.
Town Administrator Clayton Anderson.
We can't hear you, Clayton.
Following up on the computer.
Yes. Clayton, can you hear us?
I just want to make sure he's connected. Can you see if the town attorney? I checked.
Town Council, Lynn Board.
I am present.
Got you. I see your hand, Clayton. I think he's here now.
So to answer that question, our town attorney is still Karen Ruff. However, Lynn Board has been specific. She's part of the team at Levon Ruff. She's been specifically working on the charter changes. And since it's a charter we're dealing with mainly, that's why she's been here. But we will be returning to our town attorney at meetings, I believe, in August. So. Okay, so can we hear Clayton? Can our Administrator Anderson? Okay. I'm gonna go ahead. I think if you can like kind of log out and log back in and see if that helps, but since it is just a public hearing and we have the town attorney, I'm gonna move forward so that we don't take up the time that residents would speak. So if we can stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and for all.
There is review of the agenda on this agenda, but I think it more properly belongs on the regular meeting agenda. So I'm going to skip over that in case there are any, unless there are any objections. Hearing no objections, we're going to move on to the public hearing portion. Assistant Thomas, if you could please read the charter resolution into the record for us before we get started.
Yes. The Town of Marlborough Charter Amendment Resolution number 02-2025, Council Manager Form of Government. The Charter Amendment Resolution for the Board of Commissioners of the Town of Marlborough, Maryland, amending various sections of the Charter of the Town of Marlborough to alter the form of government for the Town of Marlborough from a Board of Commissioners form of government to a Council Manager form of government, changing council terms for 4 years, to add a recall provision, make other non-substantive provisions.
And Attorney Board, if you wouldn't mind just giving a brief overview. I know it's really a public hearing, but there's a number of people here who are new faces and we're very glad of that. But I think it would help them to have an overview. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mayor Franklin. Hopefully you all can hear me okay. Very briefly, this charter does the major change it does is it changes the form of government for the town from a commissioner form of government to a council manager form of government, which is a form of government that many municipalities throughout the state of Maryland use. In addition to that, it does deal a little bit with some of the election provisions, specifically with regard to the term for what would then be the mayor and council. It would go for the election provisions, those would go into effect with your upcoming election in 2025. And in that election, all 5 positions would be up for election But the top 3 vote getters would get a 4-year term. The next 2 vote getters, top vote getters, would get a 2-year term. Then they would become staggered terms moving forward after that. It does also add a recall provision, which provides an opportunity for the residents of the town, if they're unhappy with any of their elected officials, it provides an outlet and a procedure for them to recall those elected officials. And I'm happy to provide more detail or answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, so I want to let the public have a chance to speak. So unless there are any major burning questions we haven't asked yet as a council.
I just basically do have one quick question. I saw the 30% again
Mhm.
for the registered voters. As we spoke about before, we never get
Mhm.
more than 100 voters. So how do we balance that out?
Yeah, I actually, especially considering one of the residents at the last meeting's comments, I have thought about that, and I actually have an amendment to propose when we get into the actual business piece of this.
Okay.
So hopefully we can discuss that and resolve that
Okay,
issue.
okay. Thank you.
All right, so public comment procedure is that you're going to come up to the podium, you're going to state your name and the street you live on. You don't need to give us the number of your house. And we ask you try to keep your comments to 3 minutes. You're going to hear a noise at 3 minutes. So you can kind of try and wrap it up so that other people have more time then. Also, if you're in the audience and you think it's too dark, please raise your hand and we'll turn on that light. Okay, no one raised their hands. And if you are online, you're going to just go ahead and raise your hands. After the audience in the room is done speaking, we will move to the online audience and allow them to speak. So you can line up or you can come up one at a time.
I am Dr. Mary Palmer. I live at 14500 Elm Street. I have questions of the commissioners. Who did you ask if they wanted a change of government and who said they did? Did you ask if they wanted you to have 4-year terms? If so, I'd love to have names. Who did you ask if you were supposed to, they want you to appoint people rather than vote when there's a vacancy? Was this process done with open minutes that we could trace and find and know what the decision-making process was? I know the answer. Absolutely not. I spent hours looking for information how this came about. I don't know why you're doing it. I don't believe you do have a sense of what the people want. Your survey is biased. It's bullshit, whatever comes out of it. We have been railroaded. This is not what democracy looks like. We want democracy. This is a town of 650 people. We deserve a democracy. We deserve to say. We deserve to participate. And you are blocking us. I am asking you, and you, and you, and you, and you. I'm just speaking. My voice is elevated. Just say vote no. Vote no. Vote no with your conscience really in it, because this is not democracy. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Right.
Brian Callicott, Church Street. You probably heard me talk about this before. I appreciate the commission putting together the survey. Appreciated that they took the time to say, hey, here's the boundaries around it. And I appreciate the public of the results. I kind of like to know what my fellow citizens think. It's good because, as was noted in the earlier meeting just 2 weeks ago, not everyone does come to the meeting here and stuff. So it's cool to see a bunch of different sides. I know this is 3 minutes, and I still want to thank the commission for putting that together. So I think the 5 things that I have to worry about in the charter change, you know which one. Again, it's the 4-year terms, and I pretty much said why prior. I guess I don't have to say again for the public review, but maybe I do for some legal reason or whatever. But basically, it's the removal of my ability to vote. Half of it at least. I can still vote for online. I can still see the folks campaign, but truly, losing a little bit of my actual change capability through vote is gone. I think maybe there is some thought in the council's mind, in the commission's mind, that perhaps that they can form relationships with people that will extend 4 years for long-term projects. And once again, I'll say what I said last time, which is, if you're doing a good job, you'll get reelected, you'll continue those relationships, and everything will indeed be continuous in terms of long-term projects. For those people who won't work with you because your term is up in less than a year, well, those people you typically don't want to work with. They are short-sighted people. Politicians can have that sort of point of view. You want to look in the long view. You don't just have to have a 4 years election to do that. You can have 8 if you needed it, if you're reelected. And in those 8 years, you can develop many relationships with many different people at the county and the state and the local levels, and try to make good things happen for the town. I've seen many good things happen for the town, so I'm not sitting up here complaining by any means. I'm just saying, of all the 5 things, that's the one I want you to reflect on the most. I really truly worry that it's gonna lead us into trouble down the road, not necessarily, I'm not talking about you guys, you commissioners, but at some point we'll be going, oh my God, I wish we hadn't done that. Oh my God, we now can't get someone out of office who really is doing chaos damage. Those are the things I worry about in the long term. I'd love you to really reflect upon, look at that one piece out of all of it. That's the one piece I'm asking. Thank you.
Okay.
Patty Calicut, Church Street. First of all, I believe these charter changes are of the caliber that should be brought to the citizens via referendum. Shouldn't be via survey, should be about a board looking at what they think the town wants. I think you should allow the town to speak their mind on whether they want these types of charter changes. I'm gonna reflect back on the rationale behind this. And I looked at all the whereases and they're pretty empty. There is one that says that the Charter Review Board Committee found that the changing of the government was recommended. And I believe, and I've said this many times, that did not come out of the Charter Review Board. So if you remove that whereas, there's not a whole lot of rationale between why you're changing this charter. In the survey, it stated our town is essentially the foundation of our local government. Like the Constitution, it outlines how our town operates, from the powers of the elected officials to the rights and responsibilities of our communities. We have, according to the changes in this charter, we have delegated a huge piece of the power that the board had by giving it over to a manager. And that means that we have currently elected a board that we thought was going to take care of all of these things. And now you're asking us to allow someone who is not a member of our town, someone who doesn't know the people of the town and is working as essentially as a CEO in a company. I noted the last time, and I'll note it again. We've moved all of these powers to the manager. Chief Financial Officer, Town Manager. Transfer of funds, checks, purchases and contracts, clerk of the council, town manager and administrator, and official bond. That's a significant amount of power. And that's being given to someone who doesn't have any skin in the game for this town. And we did not elect that person to have that type of power. And also the fact that the town manager is also the treasurer, kind of like the fox watching the hen house. I don't see anything in the charter amendments to give the checks and balances against that. Changing from 2 terms to 4 terms and staggering those terms. First of all, the appointment, that's already been put into the charter. And now we're moving to a 4-year term, which means since it was half of a 2-year term, now it's going to be half of a 4-year term. to someone who we did not elect, who will now be running on the board. I think that's a horrible, horrible idea. And I asked about why we're changing this, and one of the things I heard was cost. And there's already areas in the budget that where cost savings can be, but I've noticed that almost everything in this charter amendment takes away the power of the citizens, and it's our taxes. And the board gets to choose who they believe should be running for the town. And I don't like that. I don't like that at all. I think it needs to always be a special election. It may be easier to appoint someone, but appointing takes the power away from the citizens. That's the only power we have, is to elect our officials, and now we have a board that wants to appoint them. The current charter change, from a 2-year to 4-year, I said it again. It's too hard to remove any board that goes rogue. If you've got 5 members, it's gonna take us 6 years to remove an entire board that has gone rogue and does nothing.
I think he's talking to his.
Again, is that for cost? Is it for continuity? If it's for continuity, you can always get voted back in. But if it's a relationship that they forged with the county, what if it's not a good relationship and now you have them in for 4 years? And also, it's board centric. I didn't hear when we asked. I heard that you guys wanted to work with the PG County and the state, but I didn't hear any of what that working for is for the citizens. Adding removal, the mayor and council shall forfeit and automatically remove the persons from the office. The recall, again, the 30% was horrible. And things that are missing out of the charter is during an election process. What if during the election process, somebody decides they don't want to run? I didn't see anything in there that currently allows that. And then finally, adding a vice mayor. If there is a town manager and a town mayor is essentially a figurehead for the board, why is it needed? These duties should just default to the most tenured council. And I also,
You're
noted that.
2 minutes over now, and there's a lot of other people who want to speak, so can
I
you
just
just
wanted
wrap
to
up?
say that if you're taking some of the power away from the president, then is that gonna be reflected in the salary? And I didn't see that in the charter amendment, that that needs to be looked at as well. Thank you.
For the new folks, if you want to speak, you'll just come up and state your name and the street you live on. And we ask that you try to keep it to 3 minutes. Go ahead, George.
George Lenny, Recreation. I haven't got anything new to say. I haven't got anything new to say from last time we were here, except that I've learned a lot since listening to all the other folks today and at the last time. The 2 and 4 years, I think, the main point is when you have these bad commissioners, I think that's the problem. And having gone through bad commissioners, I don't know how many people here have gone through bad commissioners. I think I can count. Mrs. Ford was there for 16 years, but as I mentioned, there was this Joyce person who was the bad commissioner, he couldn't get rid of. That was only 2 years. He couldn't get rid of her in the last 6 months because there was no procedure. So he just waited it out. In 6 months, we've just been through 6 months of a president, which has been very chaotic and very bad. And we're looking at 42 more months of the same stuff. You can't get rid of him. So that's my big problem with the 4 years. And it's a strong point, I think. I don't know. The firemen, probably nobody here was here in town. Some people may not have been born when the firemen out here doing this. But when the firemen were doing what they were doing, there was a lot of self-dealing, there was nepotism. Couldn't get rid of them for 2 years, which seemed like a long, long time too. So that's the main point about the 2 and 4 years is the bad commissioners. And then since the firemen, we've had several other bad commissioners, in my opinion. Rarely. Mr. Hertley was a young 33-year-old when we first got in office, and now he's almost 50, you know. And so, but he can tell you that the same kind of stuff. There was Mr. Story. Mr. Story, basic problem was he came into office and wouldn't do the organizational meeting for like 3 or 4 months.
I just want to try to steer away from just like saying things about specific people. If you can,
Well,
just be more general.
Why couldn't I say things about specific, do you think?
I'm just asking.
Because I have this sort of experience of these people who were commissioners here. And we had the firemen. One thing I will mention to you, when you said, I can't ask people who are right up here a question.
Yeah, you can't
I
speak.
can't do that.
That's-
Where do you?
That's how professional.
Called suppression of public comment, by the way. I had to ask a question to Mr. Strine in the fire hall meeting, where we had 75 to 100 people. And the only person you could ask the question to was Mr. Strine. And Mr. Tucker said the same thing that you did. So you can't ask these commissioners any question. Well, I asked him the question anyway. Because he had told the fire department people, he was gonna get $75,000 for the down payment for the fire truck if he got elected. And so I asked him the question, and he denied it. The person who told me about it also asked him the same question. He denied it then. In my opinion, he lied. He lied under the river. And I can't ask him that kind of question.
Right, but that-
Like meeting?
So your 3 minutes are up and you're so saying things about people that they don't have an opportunity. They're not here to rebut. And I think it's outside the bounds of the comment period.
Very good. Victor Gregori, 14303 Old Marlborough Pike. I'm going to be very try to get a pathway to understand where we're heading with decisions which have been made, as in what necessitated us.
Can you speak up, please?
What necessitated us changing it to a new form of government. Was the old one broken? That's question number one. Was it broken? Are services not being rendered? Is there a reason why we need to change anything without actually looking at the efficiency of the people who are put on it? Because we can create a system, but then the people being put on it do not deliver on it, then you don't question the system. You question the people who put on it. So then the question here is that if we need to change it, or maybe change the job description within that system to make sure that the people who are on it are actually accountable and they have to respond to the system's efficiencies so that they keep staying in office. So for me, it's trying to find out where we are at that, and also if, like we're speaking over here. I've been here for 2 meetings ago, so is this going to make a difference? The public, we're here speaking, is it going to be put on a ballot? Are we going to poll to make a decision whether we're going to make any difference? I think from this point, what is the next? Are you going to make a decision now on how you're going to implement it, or is it going to go back to the drawing board to decide whether we are doing it? That's where I am. 4 years, 10 years, 100 years, doesn't matter. If the system is there, it's working, don't try to fix it before you learn how to deliver on it. That's all I'd say. I want to still do. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's see if anyone online has their hand raised.
There's none raised.
Okay. Does anyone else in the audience want to speak? All right. So we've heard the public comment. just so everyone's aware, this is on the agenda. We're about to talk about it in the meeting, so we're gonna put a pin in these questions that everyone asked, and we'll be answering them during that section of the meeting. So I am gonna call this public hearing closed at 7:01. We are going to take a brief recess to allow our staff to come in for the regular meeting at 7. If you can stay, you're gonna be able to comment again. I would ask that if you commented during the public hearing that you keep it tighter for the meeting or not repeat what you said. And then we'll vote on it. Stretch. Okay, it is 7:09 and I am calling this regular town meeting of the board to order. Assistant Thomas, would you do another roll call for us?
Okay. Commissioner Brooks. Present. Commissioner Colbert. Here. Mayor Franklin.
Here.
Commissioner Lott.
Here.
Commissioner Kirkland. Here. Town Administrator, Kenny Anderson.
Present.
Public Works Director, Donnell Bond. Here.
Our Chief of Police, David Burst, is here. He is making copies of the packet for folks who do not have copies of the packet, so he will be.
And Acting Counsel of the Board.
Present.
All right, now we'll move on to the review of the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda? Hearing none, is there a motion to move forward with the agenda as it is described?
I'm sorry, I hate to interrupt, but I think that item C is, we don't have the contract for the speed camera program tonight.
Oh, so we're going to strike item C because we don't have what we need.
Correct. The vendor hasn't provided the police department.
The vendor was supposed to get it to us, but hasn't. Okay.
But hasn't done it.
Okay. So is there a motion to move forward with the amended business agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. That was unanimous for the record. Okay, we will move on to the consent agenda. Are there any questions on the consent agenda? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Would you call the roll on that vote for us, please?
Yes. Commissioner Brooks.
Aye.
Commissioner Colbert.
Aye.
Mayor Franklin.
Aye.
Commissioner Lott.
Aye.
Commissioner Kirkland.
Aye.
Thank you. And that gets us into our business items. And the first business item we have is Charter Amendment Resolution 02-2025, Council Manager Form of Government. This is up for a board vote. Just so everyone in the room understands how this happened. Our assistant is going to read it into the record. Our attorney is going to explain it again. The board is going to ask any questions. Then we will take public comment. Then there will be a motion. And after the motion's made, we'll provide our comments. And I will probably step in with the attorney if there's any questions that get answered that were asked in the public hearing. So you want to take it away with the reading it into the record? Thank you.
Yes. The Town of Marlborough, resolution number 02-2025, Council Manager Form of Government. A charter amendment resolution of the Board of Commissioners of the Town of Marlborough, Maryland, amending various sections of the charter of the Town of Marlborough to alter the form of government of the Town of Marlborough from a Board of Commissioners form of government to a Council Manager form of government. Change council terms to 4 years, to add a recall provision, to make other non-substantive amendments.
Thank you. Attorney Board, if you wouldn't mind doing another overview, and if you have note of any questions that were asked that you know the answer to, if you could just slide those in there. And I'm making notes on the others.
All right, thank you, Mayor. Again, this is a charter resolution that the primary purpose is to change the form of government from a commissioner form of government, which obviously is the town's present form of government, to a council manager form of government. It also includes changes to add a recall provision so that if the residents are unhappy with their elected officials, that there is a mechanism for them to recall elected officials. It also changes the election procedures so that the new term for council members would be a 4-year term, and that would be effective in the 2025 election. And then the the council members at that point would run for staggered 4-year terms. And again, with that, I am happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. I do just want to answer some of the audience questions. A lot of the questions have been asked and answered multiple times throughout this process, but there's a couple things I wanted to address. One, sort of why are we doing this? And is this going to make a difference? And the answer to that is yes. Our current charter has some contradictory pieces in it. And there's also some challenges in it. One thing that the board agreed on universally over the past 4 years is that the mayor, and me included, believe that the mayor should have less power. So that's one thing that was really important to us. How do you know our thought process around this is there, if you went to the place to take the survey and you took the survey, there's a video and we talk about it. Four of us on this board now and our previous commissioner discuss all the changes we're making, why we're making them, how they're going to benefit the town. So it also professionalizes the town. And I think this is important to know about, especially with regard to the treasurer. The state has been looking at different regulations to take power of treasurer away from elected officials. It is too frequently misused in those hands. And that's not happening with anybody on this board. It hasn't happened with anybody on this board, but it's happened enough in other places that the state is starting to look at it. And I think this gets us ahead of that. So what else? So I got the minutes. I do want to kind of just dispute that the survey was biased. It is pretty straightforward. And the salary of the mayor, yes. If this all passes and a vice mayor's added, we need to look at the salaries, and I think it's a resolution. And so we'll have to look at that separately. And there is a lot of implementation. Someone asked about implementation. There are other ordinances and resolutions that will need to be updated once we pass this, if this passes this evening. So let's see, did I miss anything? I think I got all the questions that were asked. But when it comes to public comment period, if you have more questions, feel free to ask them and we'll do another round of answers. So board, do we have any questions?
Well, I already said, one of my questions was about the 30%.
Yes, I'm gonna make.
Registered voters being able to remove a council member. As I stated, we don't have a lot of participation. So to me, that number seems pretty high. And I would like to have that number, the percentage brought down so that if in fact we do have to have someone removed, that it's doable.
Yes, I came prepared to make an amendment based on that. After the last meeting, I had some thoughts about an amendment to that, but it wouldn't have been appropriate for me to do that. Not in a meeting, so. Then we'll discuss that amendment more when we get there. Probably compromise as we do. Any other questions?
I have a few.
Mhm.
So at the last meeting, it was stated that the town has been running this way, and so therefore we needed the change. But if we can run, in this manner under the current system, then it gives flexibility for the next administration that comes in who may decide that, look, the mayor or town president, who is allowed to call themselves mayor in the current form, has more time available to them, they can take on the duties as a strong mayor. if the issue is the strong mayor, there's also the weak mayor form of government. And we've even had a sort of a commissioner style government in some regards before, because when I first got elected with George acted as the town's treasurer. I did information type stuff, getting the website up and running, the town newsletter, and I managed that, the town's television channel information. And so we had responsibilities. They weren't necessarily your standard police commissioner, public works commissioner type thing, but we still had, areas of responsibility that were within our skill set that we could do. And there is the case where we've had quite a few people run for town commissioner without ever having been to a town meeting and really understanding what the duties actually were of the commission, which has gotten us into some trouble before. But if we make this change, we force this in. And the last time we had a commission that actually put in a town administrator was the firefighters that George mentioned, and they got completely wiped out in the next election because the town at the time definitely did not want that. It didn't help that they also appointed one of their wives hired her as the administrator at first. But when we came in, we had a president who was willing to take on those duties. And so actually did acted as the executive officer for the town and someone else was treasurer. So I think if we are, either we're allowed to do this type of job within the current charter, which gives us flexibility, or we're violating the charter right now. So
I just want to kind of correct the record on that. The town administrative form of government has been in place at least since 2017, I believe. And that's been how it's been functioning. It is not actually that we're functioning illegally. It is that the mayor has the power to do that, to direct staff in specific ways. And I will save my opinions on that, why we shouldn't have a strong mayor for the discussion.
Please state your opinion.
We're gonna do questions, comment, opinions. So we're supposed to talk about our opinions after the motion is made, technically. I'm trying to move us into a little more Robert's rules.
okay.
So it's really questions for our staff that we're asking here.
I guess I do have the question of, what sort of proposed salary do we recommend for, who would become the mayor? Because we had actually proposed for the mayor to have a $30,000 salary. But if there should be a town manager or town administrator, and because I was told at the time when I passed that amendment that was not allowed for us to have a sort of clawback type thing, then we set it at 15,000.
Yes, I was gonna say, I don't make $30,000. I think if this passes, it's appropriate that we bring up the resolution that sets our wages. And I think that conversation is appropriate later when we're discussing that resolution.
I guess my only other question is, are people familiar with acquiescent bias? Or, I think that's how it's pronounced. Basically, when you give a survey in which the questions are only yes or no, somewhere around 10 to 20% of people just choose yes straight away because they want to go along with the group. And so that is why most surveys, if you get a political survey, they ask you to strongly support, there's some sort of range rather than just a yes or no to try and gauge better how people actually feel about a situation.
Yes, and legislation is usually opposed, support, or support with comments, and this is legislation. So I think that's why we crafted it the way we did. Any other questions?
No questions.
Okay. All right, so we are gonna let's take public comment before we have a motion, even though it's not exactly right. So if you have a public comment, if you can come up to the podium, if you've already commented on this item, you have the right to comment again. I'm just asking if you don't have anything new to add, that you consider your neighbors and allow them to kind of go first. And if you are online, you can go ahead and raise your hand. And we'll call on you. And it just, based on the previous public comment period, I just want to remind everyone that we are in a professional environment, and I'm asking that you please use professional language. There are actually children in this room as well. So thank you.
Oh, sorry. Patty Calacat, Church Street. I want to address a couple of things that I've noticed in the changes over the last 15 years. Got a new town hall, cost us $2 million, wiped out our savings. And now we have 3 trailers in the back. And we have a hall which actually doesn't even hold as many people as the original. We used to get monthly newsletters.
Is this germane to the charter amendment?
Oh,
We have-
yeah.
Okay.
We had monthly newsletters for the quarter, then it went to quarterly, now we haven't seen any. The police have moved out of town. We used to have 24/7 police with 7-2 shifts. And the now PG County does half of our calls. For the administration, there was 3 commissioners, 1 bookkeeper and 1 clerk. Now we have 5 commissioners, an administrator, no clerk, no bookkeeper. We have an accounting firm. We have lawyers. We had a treasurer that was an elected official. This amendment takes away that. And we had committees that are all now defunct. You know what hasn't changed that? The number of citizens. So all of these changes are being done, but the number of citizens haven't changed. So I don't understand the need to tear up what was working and put something in place when we still have all of these questions. And instead of putting it by referendum, the board is going to make this decision. That's all I needed to say. Thank you.
Well, I'd like to, Mary Palmer, I live on Church Street. I would like to second everything that she just said. It seems very top heavy, and we feel disenfranchised. We do not feel a part of this town. We do not feel like we can say what we want or make things happen. Like, did anybody talk about maybe a town meeting, a town hall kind of system? There are other systems. With 650 people, you could do something really creative and not the pro forma standard boring city council. You know, people do feel disenfranchised in those. And let's think out of the box. Let's get creative. Let's think about the people. That's what you're here for, serve. And that's what we want. I would like to think about having, get more money, maybe fewer of you, more money and job descriptions, so we can know what's going on here. We have no idea. We feel so disconnected. And there's money. I just heard of all this money being spent. It's like, huh? You know, the budget doesn't show it. It just shows the same thing, what went into the budget, went out the budget. But there were things happening in between. So, you know what it is to feel disenfranchised? Do you know what it feels to feel railroaded? It's crummy. And I live here and I moved here, hoping for something like kind of sweeter, smaller, a little democracy would be great. Thank you.
I just want to add a few more things to what I was saying, because only got this thing was 2 4 years. But I did want to say that the other part of it, which is the major part, changing the whole government system, is really the most important thing. My big thing, my experience is one of the main visions in the charter is called this right of public comment. I don't know whether you realize that a lot of people don't have the right to public comment in their town charters, but we do. And over the course of years, I've seen that to be one of the most important things that we have in this town, that you can come into these meetings, not with a survey, like to say, sometimes people will say yes when it's not that they actually mean that. But when you come in here, you mean it, and you can get some pushback from, say, the chair there, and pushback from other people in the audience. When you come here, you know what you're saying and you know what you're signing up for. And that's the whole thing about public comment, and how important it is in a town like this, a small town. That's why I agree with the idea of a referendum for this issue, which is one of the biggest issues that we've ever seen. I will mention one thing, I won't mention any names. But when the town hall renovation was voted on, it was done at a work session. It was done at a work session and Miss Patty, who is now Caldecott, asked the town mayor, president, I guess at that point, can she speak because you're spending $1.2 million at that point. And they wanted to have public comment. And the current president at that point said, no, this is a work session. That was one of the biggest atrocities, in my opinion, I'd ever experienced. It was just an absolute total violation of the charter and right to public comment. I'm not saying you're doing this here, but this is again an issue of public comment here. And it will be long remembered if you actually do this without having a referendum or without having this kind of meeting like we had in the town, the fire hall that I've talked about, maybe it's too much, where you have 100 people in there saying what they think should be done. I think you need to do better on this in terms of public comment with this issue because it's such a big issue. You're changing this whole structure that's been going on for like, I think since 1970 when the charter was made. And you're changing to this thing that Greenville has. We're not Greenville. We're this little town of 600 people. But it has a strong tradition of what I'm talking about. Thanks.
Caldecott Church Street, went to be quite pretty serious. But I'd like to see that this is good. This is really good. This means people care about this enough. We've had this with people here. This means something about democracy, I think. Which just basically, since I've already said what I had to say about the 4-year thing, which is my key point, I wanted to ask, similar to some other folks in here, referendum would be a very good way so people would feel like, hey, if there's some way that a survey worked or that people walk around with certain things, that it would be a much more stronger method of finding out that the citizens would or would not like certain changes in that form of government. So that's all I have to say. Thank you very much for consideration.
No one online has their hand up. Anyone else in the room want to make a comment? Oh, sorry. Yes.
Edwin Brown.
He's still muted.
Oh, can everyone hear me?
We can hear you, Mr. Brown.
Oh, okay, yes, thank you. My name is Edwin Brown. I live on Elm Street. Just want to add that one of the most important rights that we have as citizens is the right to have oversight over our government, whether it's a town government or the national government. I can understand that there might be some benefits to going to 4-year terms, but we have to understand that represents a loss of oversight for the people of the town. The recall provision in the proposed amendments is supposed to compensate for this, but I'm not persuaded that it is adequate for this purpose. And I really urge you to think very carefully about whether you want to proceed with the change to 4-year terms, with the way that the whole change is currently proposed in the amendments. Thank you.
Right. Last call for comments. Lane. It's Lane.
And I just want to say I have been coming to these meetings, probably not as long as some people here have been residents, but for a few years now, and I just want to say I'd like to get this voted on, because we've been talking about this for a long time, I would say. So I'm really just wanting it to go to a vote, because there's been ample time for people to speak up and say what they want, but I hate to say everybody here, but this is not the usual that is here. And I will put on record that I say that my town residents near me and whatnot, are the turnout is, I'm gonna say, is poor. I'm just gonna say, it's poor.
Okay.
I'm just gonna put that on record, because I feel like, voter turnout could be much better, the town meeting turnout could be so much better. Resident engagement could be so much better, and this is not the norm, it's not, so. Not that I want to say that I want to take the voice of anybody away, but it's just what I've been seeing for the past couple of years in the town is that people are not engaged in the government. There could be things I don't see going on in the background, but as far as town meetings, I don't see it. So I'm just going to put my sentiment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Franklin, Old Train. Part of the reason I'm here tonight, I'm not usually here because I usually work until 8 o'clock at night, is that I watch the videos of these meetings sometimes, and I heard last week a little bit about people who don't go to meetings shouldn't be as represented. And I find that particularly appalling, especially with stuff like this and hearing comments about people not being represented. When the work is being done, I often feel like some of the stuff is coming out and being put forth in a way that if it's not what we want, we don't agree with it. And I have a problem with that. So I'm coming out to say at this point right now that we're neighbors first. There has been a lot of work to build this community. It is not what it was. It's not what it's going to be yet. And I think we would all be better served if we're working together, treating each other civilly, and working towards a better future together. I do think a lot of these things, while they're not perfect, they're going to let everybody have an opportunity to have their voice heard. And I think making sure that there is time to listen to each other, that's an important thing.
But no, we're not engaging in conversation.
So when we have the surveys come out, we don't like the results. Talk to your neighbors, talk to more people, and not just listen to voices in here, because my voice has not been heard in here once. I'm not the most civic minded person, despite being married to the mayor. And I do believe that when we do these surveys, we do reach out, we do coordinate with people. I see the effort that goes in. You know, my wife has worked 40 to 50 hours a week every year for the last 3 to 5 years, when she could be making a lot more with her expertise in town management.
I appreciate it, but you've gone off the script.
It's kind of at the point of, there is getting a lot of professional work being done, and if you don't understand it and you don't believe in it, that's okay. Please disagree civilly, and as we're going forward to make these changes, don't assume they'll attend. Okay, we're all working together to make this place. We're residents, we're neighbors, and there's a lot of people in this room can attest. If you need something, a storm, a tree falls on your house, and you want help, I'll try to help you as best I
I
can.
do have to have you go back to the point, which is the charter, sorry.
Yes, yeah, the charter amendment. It's keeping in mind, we are a community, and this is to build a community. And yes, this has been worked on for a very long time. The information has been out there, and if people wanted to be informed, the reason you're not informed is probably because you didn't put forth the effort to do the message. I have looked into it at times, even when it's in my house, and I haven't always paid attention. So if you want more engagement, you want more involvement, reach out to your neighbors, be a community, so that way we can pull together and we're working towards a better future for our community that we all want to live in together.
Thank you.
Last call for comments.
Victor, Old Road, right? It's just, the understanding is that for the community to be able to get involved, it's always important, like I said, to create a system. How do I reach somebody? How do I reach somebody, even if it's my neighbor, even if it's anybody? To participate here, for me, I think, I started getting
Sorry, that's not
involved
yours.
after I was called on to in different settings. Oh, let's come together, let's sit together. This is what is going on. The effort has to be from the representatives who've been elected. To make sure that civic education is going on within the community. But if anything is done, for us to understand that it's being done for the benefit of the citizens of the town, then it is explained to them like 6-year-olds. Not all of us, I think. But you might be passing something that looks simple to some people, but to some people it's rocket science. You might be saying you're changing the government. Some people might say, oh, it's just 4 years, but it might be rocket science to somebody else. If there's no civic education, and maybe that is a portion of communication that we need to develop within the town. Be able to communicate continuously, develop groupings continuously, have town hall meetings continuously, even if it's not during this meeting. It's like prepare opportunity for people to have sit downs, comment on stuff, just onward communication. And that is the only way you get a full buy-in from them. For instance, right now, we are at a place where I don't know, for me, this side of the house looks like it's opposed. According to what I see. And for me, I think half of it is based on lack of information. You might be doing it for the good reasons, but if I don't know the good reasons, then it will be a good thing for me. So that's what I'm saying. As much as we're sitting over, as much as we do this, civic education is good. Hey, I got it.
Sorry, I know you're being positive, but you can't address staff.
I was informed about a service to the town. Very few people get informed. And if I'm informed, that means I benefit. But if I don't share it out, then I'm not helping anybody else. If the town doesn't share it out, it doesn't help anybody else. And it becomes biased. It looks like it's chronism now. So for me, I'm just saying, for us to move forward with this agenda, let us create a way to communicate and deliver the information like we have people 6-year-olds. Then that will have success in whatever.
Thank you.
Last call, I guess. Okay. So I'm going to close public comment on this and I am going to ask for let's have a motion first and then we'll comment before we vote. So is there a motion to approve Charter Amendment Resolution 2-2025 Council Manager form of government?
Aye.
Oh, you want to say so moved, I think?
So moved, I'm sorry.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, I'm not going to call for a vote yet because I have an amendment. And I would like to move to amend, it's actually two, but let's take it one at a time. I would like to move to amend section 82-14-2. The petition to read, if a petition signed by not less than 25% of qualified voters of the town. So instead of 30%, it's going to say 25.
Can we do
That-
20? That is like the state.
Hang on, let's have the motion and then discussion and then I just want to go in order. So and that would be reflected in 3 as well. 30% would be struck and replaced with 25. And then under D, results of the election, instead of, it would say if 2/3 of the voters voting in the special election vote in favor of recalling the office holder in question. So it would not be a majority, but it would be a 2/3 vote. Did I do my amended motion correctly before I call for a second, Attorney Board?
Sorry, unmuting there. Yes, the motion was correct.
Okay, can I have a second and then we can discuss it?
first comment before voting. In the petition,
Well,
three also needs to be changed to 25%. There are two
Yeah,
occurrences of 30%.
I stated that. So the motion will fail if it doesn't have a second. So there's no point in discussing it. if There's no second. So is there a second for this motion?
Are we able to further amend after the part of the discussion?
Yes.
Second.
Okay.
And have a further amendment.
Okay, so do we want to discuss now? And because I think Commissioner Lott wanted to
Yeah.
discuss and you have it. Go ahead.
You can.
I actually would recommend, I actually would recommend, two changes to that. First, lowering that threshold to 20%.
Okay.
And also changing the word registered voter to qualified voter to be in alignment with the state, referendum and petition, and for anyone's understanding of the difference between registered and qualified voter in the town of Marlboro, according to our charter, it's 4 elements, which is a US citizen greater than 18 years of age, has lived in the town for 30 days prior to the election, and is a registered voter. So that will allow for anyone who is, because there may be cases where there are people who are registered, but may have moved out of town, may not, and haven't updated the registered voter rules or anything like that. But the petition requires your name and address to be a part of it, so that can be easily verified and certified that a person is qualified to be a voter of the town of Upper Marlboro. That will also, because we've had previous questions on what exactly is the number of quote unquote registered voters. Is it 561? Is it 462? Again, the qualified voter notion, we can verify that. The Board of Supervisors of Elections can verify what a qualified voter is and make sure that number is accurate. It would be lower than 561. I know that's the number that the county has as registered, but we can get the confirmation on that. But I'm of the belief that 561 includes people who would not necessarily be considered qualified voters of the town.
I like that.
Do you want to phrase that as a motion to amend the amended motion?
I move to amend the amended motion to change the threshold in said section to 20%, in all areas where it says 30%. And then change
So say in all areas where it was 25.
where it was 25%, according to the preceding amendment, and also to change registered voter to qualified voter.
I'll second that.
So
Charles made the motion, so I seconded the motion. And then now we're going to vote.
Discussion on that?
Discussion, sorry, yeah.
So I actually, the question of what is a qualified voter came up when I was a town election judge. And we had a petition that came in because people had to have 10 signatures from the town. And someone had signatures that were not registered voters. And it's like, well, if they're 18 and if they're been in the town for 30 days and they're a US citizen, then that should be okay. So we will go and knock on their door, and they took a rather long time to answer the door. And when you have someone who doesn't speak good English and asking them, are you a US citizen, seems really bad. And so if it is qualified but not registered, how many people are in town that are eligible to be registered? And so they would be count as qualified, but are not registered. And we don't know what that number is. And so how can we set a percentage when we just don't know?
My counter to that, the provision of the charter is being turned 8219, I believe is the section. Section or subsection E includes registration as a part of qualifying for the town. So if US citizen 18, 30 days in town and registered. So we would have the number of who's registered in town, and we would also know the addresses to know if they're within 30 days or have been a resident.
Okay, there's another issue, which is there are 2 voter registration lists. One is maintained by the county and one is maintained by the town. To the best of my knowledge, there is no one that is currently on the town's list separately, because if the person later got registered on the county list, then we just didn't bother maintaining a separate card because then they'd have two cards.
Sure.
But there were people that have shown up on the county's list that we know had moved out of town and we know were deceased in different elections. And as an election official, we were responsible for maintaining the list. But the county has told us that we are not allowed to have people struck from the list. They said that someone complaining about their neighbors to have them removed, they just viewed us as just any other citizen. And so we could not do it. And so we actually maintained a modification rule, which was, flag this one if someone came in, ask them to verify, their address because, sometimes it's like a special election. After Wanda passed away, we knew nobody should be voting Wanda's card. But there have been other times, and so I don't know if that list is still maintained or not. I had maintained it for a while, and I think I passed it off to Jay, or at least I gave a copy to the town clerk to maintain with the election files, so hopefully Jay has it now.
Hopefully, but I think that's still within the purview of the Board of Supervisors of Elections to do that certification and verification. And I don't think in terms of the charter amendment, that doesn't affect this. It's just making sure that the Board of Supervisors of Elections is doing that verification and certification program.
Yeah, so another possible thing to list would be active voters. I think it makes more sense to stay with the language that we've used within the charter, if that's qualified voter and qualified must be registered. There was the issue with the petition to be on the ballot, which was you could still register within 10 days as opposed to needing to do it within 30 days. And so it's like, well, this person could be registered in time to vote. And so what we ended up having was just all of the election supervisors sign the form also. So we made sure we got them over the number and then we didn't have to worry about it. But
I want to let anyone else who wants to comment on the amendment to the amendment. And then we can vote down back into the.
Well, thank you, Colbert, for bringing the number down, because that's actually what I wanted to see, because I feel like if we only have 100 people coming in here to vote, we won't be able to remove anybody if the numbers are too high, if the percentage was too high. So bringing it down will give the opportunity for removal if necessary. So thank you.
So do I have to reread it or just vote, Lynn?
I think that the amendments have been made and seconded, so you can move forward with the vote.
So just for clarity, what we're voting on right now is the amendment to my amendment, which is making it 20 instead of 25% and adding the word qualified, or striking registered and changing it to qualified. So would you call the roll for that vote for us?
Yes. Commissioner Brooks? Aye. Commissioner Colbert?
Aye.
Mayor Franklin?
Aye.
Commissioner Lott?
Aye.
Commissioner Ercler?
I
Motion carries.
Okay, now we're back into the amended amendment. And that one I'll just restate because it's been amended. So this is to strike 30% and replace it with 20% wherever it occurs in section 82-14. To strike registered voters anywhere it occurs in 82-14-2 and replace it with qualified voters. And in letter D, results of the election, strike a majority and replace it with 2/3 of registered voters. Or sorry, of voters voting in the special election. So the only change to D is to strike a majority and replace it with 2/3. So now we're voting on that. Would you call that roll for us?
Commissioner Brooks? Aye. Commissioner Colbert?
Aye.
Mayor Franklin?
Aye.
Commissioner Lott?
Aye.
Commissioner Ercler?
nay.
Motion carries.
Okay, so now we're back in the amended charter. I potentially have another amendment, but does anyone else have an amendment before I start? So, the other amendment that I'd like to propose is based on the survey response. And that to section 8214-1, personnel actions involving elected officials. Number 3, where it says fails to attend 3 or more consecutive regular or special meetings. My amendment is to clarify regular or special meetings to say that have been scheduled for a minimum of 2 weeks prior. Can I have a second?
Wait a minute,
Do
say it again. What's he saying?
So
Yeah.
it is page 15 in your packet. So section and 82-14.1. Maybe I should explain the motion I'm making first. So it's A3 fails to attend 3 or more consecutive regular or special meetings of the council without being excused by the council. So I'm making this motion because in the survey results, there were a lot of questions about this specific part of the removal clause, like what, you could potentially remove somebody for what are the reasons you can be excused? What are the reasons you wouldn't be excused? Could this be abused? And based on those comments, I thought of this amendment. That doesn't mean it's going to get a second or pass. But so this is the amendment. 82, I move that in section 82-14-1, A3, after the phrase special meetings, we add that have been scheduled for a minimum of 2 weeks prior. Actually, sorry, meetings of the council. So after of the council, it would say that have been scheduled for a minimum of 2 weeks prior. Is there a second? There doesn't have to be a second.
So, but if we were,
Well, before we just, if
Oh.
it's not gonna, if there's no second, then it's gonna die and we don't need to discuss.
okay.
So I'm not hearing a second. So it's died. So,
But I have,
which is fine. Okay,
which would be to actually,
wait,
for 82-14-1,
yes,
to actually,
you had to phrase it like a motion.
I move that we actually, in section 82-14-1, actually strike clause A-3, fails to attend 3 or more meetings.
I'll second that.
I'll second.
Oh, I already seconded
Oh,
it.
second,
Sorry.
okay, well, so, yeah.
Okay,
I'll agree with that.
so any discussion on that?
No.
Yes.
Okay.
So as George had mentioned, there was a previous commissioner, and that was actually one of the issues that they had with the previous commissioner was someone stopped attending meetings and they could not remove them. So I mean, in a way, it's the person stops doing the duties of a commissioner. And that is part of our duties.
Right.
But can I
So-
just say something?
Let's let.
But in number 1, it says no longer meets the qualifications for the office. So if you're not coming to meetings, you no longer meet the.
No, you're still.
So- So qualifications would be you over 25, you presided in the.
I understand that. I guess
You're a
it's
registered
the
voter.
way you decipher it.
Yeah,
Okay.
so, the scheduled for 2 weeks thing is kind of weird because there have been work sessions that have been turned into regular meetings or special meetings at the last minute. So does that count? I mean, I think this is.
I think we're discussing striking it all together right now, so I think.
So the reason I suggest striking it all together, one, getting a little bit to the point that you're making right now, there have been changes in the schedule, but also this is a very broad statement that doesn't necessarily provide any guardrails on what, and excuses, how the excuse is accepted. Is it something that's just turned into the board? Does the board have to, accept, vote on each excuse each time someone is absent from a meeting? So I think I'm open to another amendment where we clarify this a little bit more, but I think the way that it's phrased right now and even with, 2 weeks prior, I don't think it provides enough guardrail so that this just doesn't get abused. So that's why I'm recommending striking it. But again, open to another amendment where we clarify it a little bit more.
So I guess the question is, does anyone have an amendment where we clarify it more? Because then what Commissioner Colbert is saying is, let's vote nay on this so we get back to.
I would potentially propose an alternate, which would be to move that into section B.
Well, you're just expelling them from a meeting. Or sent.
Oh, that's expelling them from a meeting. That's not. Well, I would think that you would want to, coercing a city employee into taking illegal or improper action would fall into, they should be removed from office, not just removed from a meeting.
Okay, well, let's put in that amendment when we get back down to the main piece. Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay, so let's call a vote on Commissioner Colbert's amendment, striking section 82-14-1A3. Would you call that for us?
Commissioner Brooks,
Aye.
Commissioner Colbert,
Aye.
Mayor Franklin,
Aye.
Commissioner Watts,
Aye.
Commissioner Erkler,
Abstain?
motion carries.
All right, so now we're back down to the main piece. So if you would like to propose another amendment,
Just to clarify, that was to strike that whole passage, right?
that passage is struck.
Okay.
Okay, so I can move in section 82-14.1 B to move item number 2 from B and put it as item number 3 under A. Is there a second for that?
Wait, what?
This is what we just talked about, which is, so you've got B, the council may by vote of 4 board members censure or expel a member from the meeting for. That's just removing someone from a meeting. But what we just said was that item 2, coercing any city employee, and really should say town, but we should change that, town employee into taking illegal or improper action or taking any retaliatory action against any town employee. I'm proposing that that actually gets moved to the mayor or council shall forfeit and automatically be removed from that person's office if the mayor or council member anytime during that person's term of office does this thing. Coerces a city employee into
So
taking.
you're saying taking number 2 and putting it under 14-2 under number A?
Under letter A, so it's a removal from office versus a removal from a meeting.
Number to A
Mm-hmm.
on the previous page.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a second for that motion?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes,
Okay.
so under B, there was still a vote of 4 members. So there was an opportunity for someone to have a jury or judgment or something. When it gets moved into the other one, into the other section, it's an automatic removal. And so who judges that coercion or illegal or improper action was taken?
Can I amend my own motion, Attorney Board?
Why not?
You can withdraw your motion. Actually, you can't because it's already been seconded.
Can I withdraw it even though it's been seconded?
If the seconder consents to the withdrawal.
Commissioner Colbert, will you consent to my withdrawing my motion? Sure. Okay, so I move that in section 82-14.1 in B2, we move that to item A and say at the end, or sorry, at the beginning, before coercing, we would say by vote of 4 members, by vote of 4 members of the council.
Well, no, was that what you were getting at, Commissioner Erkley? I think you were saying that if there's an allegation of coercion or improper action, who's adjudicating that to trigger the automatic removal?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay, so don't second that. You want to take a stab at the amendment?
Is it reasonable to put it under 2 as a 2A, convicted of a felony, or this item, convicted of, found guilty of coercing Same city employee.
Let's just maybe say found guilty of.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to move it?
Does that
You want me-
get to who's adjudicating it? We're talking about the court system adjudicating this, correct?
I mean, I would. It depends, like some HR things, aren't some things found guilty by the HR department? Am I wrong?
Substantiated, is that what we're
Yeah.
trying to get at? Substantiated, so if the HR is in an investigation and there's substantiated claims of coercion.
Right.
And proper action.
But not allegations, right?
Yeah.
Confirmed.
Okay, so. Not right. Move to amend section 82-14.1 to
B2.
section B2, changing that to section A3 and having it read, substantiated claims of coercion of any town employee into taking illegal action or improper action or taking any retaliatory action against any town employee.
I will second that. Oh, did you second that?
You said by substantiating?
Yeah, substantiated.
I will second your motion. Any discussion on that?
Could we get someone to repeat what,
So yeah, so what the motion, you wanna,
Right, so section A-3 will now read, or in this way, the mayor or council member shall forfeit and automatically be removed from that person's office if the mayor or council member at any time during that person's term of office. Section 3 would read, has substantiated claim of coercion of any city employee into taking illegal or improper action, taking any retaliatory action against any town employee.
any discussion?
is he concerned with what the standards are for substantiating, whereas, saying a vote of 4 is more clear that, the other commissioners are the judgment. And of course, then you get into the issue of one person's out.
Mhm.
You've got one person not attending the meetings, and then you can't get your 4 to be able to move someone else who's problematic.
I think we just discussed that the substantiation comes from something such as an HR investigation, or if there's an outside entity that's doing an investigation based on a claim that's made. Right,
Yeah,
so
substan-
that would trigger an automatic removal if that evidence is substantiated, not for members of the board.
By the HR.
Attorney George has a substantiated claim. Does that have legal meaning?
It does. There is case law dealing with substantiated claims, mostly in the police disciplinary context.
Okay. Okay, so it has legal meaning, so I think I'm comfortable with that. Any other discussion or amendments? Did you call a vote on that for us?
Commissioner Brooks,
Aye.
Commissioner Tolbert,
Aye.
Mayor Franklin,
Aye.
Commissioner Lott,
Aye.
Commissioner Berkeley.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, we're back to the main document with those 2 amendments. Are there any other amendments? Okay. Hearing none, I want to call for a vote, but I know that everyone wants to answer questions / explain a little bit. So before we vote, we're going to go down in alphabetical order and you can kind of explain your vote or make any comments or statements that you would like to make.
Yes, I would like to propose one more amendment.
Okay.
And that is to strike all of the bit about 4-year terms.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Can you get us there?
That is election of board commissioners, 82-29. It is page 26 of the packet.
All right, so this was. All right, any discussion?
So we remove what? I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Go ahead.
Modifications to section 82-27. I guess there's still the council members versus commissioners thing, but
He's saying to go from 4-year term, so the 4-year terms that we're proposing to 2-year terms. So, so what we kind of all agreed on in February was to move to the 4-year staggered terms. And what the proposal is to stay at the 2-year terms that we have now. I have a point of discussion, which is that this was one of the things I was prepared to change my mind on and support. However, there is a survey. I don't know if we have it on the show online. 45 people, I think, took this survey, and 2/3 of them supported 4-year terms, and 1/3 of them opposed the 4-year terms. And so I think that is relevant information and will be part of, Aiden has the results up, and these are on the web for anyone who wants to see the results of the survey. They are in the same portal you took. Okay, yeah. You took the survey and it's where you took the survey. If you didn't take the survey, when you go to our website and you get into the navigation, there's a place that says like community, and it says engage, there's an engagement portal. Under charter, this is in the engagement portal. And most of our larger legislation you'll find in that community engagement portal. So I don't know if anyone else has any comments on that.
I have a comment. So, the reason why I said that we shouldn't do, well, the reason why I feel like we shouldn't do it is just because if so many people oppose to it, but then we have these, I guess these statistics. I mean, these, the survey was taken and it's going the other way. It's saying that people actually want to support this. My whole thing in the last meeting, when I stated that I didn't feel like people who didn't come to the meeting, I think it was mistaken what I said. If people don't come to the meetings, that their voice is irrelevant. That's not what I was saying. What I was making a point of is that people do take the time out to come to the meetings. And those are the people that we hear here in this room. And I felt like if you take the time out to come to the meeting and you speak your piece, or you send an email, then we have an official record that states your opinion, whomever it is. And that's what I was saying, that we don't have a lot of that. We don't have a lot of people, the residents being engaged. We don't have that engagement piece. And so when you go and you're walking around and people stop you and they give you their opinions, I tell them, send an email in. I'll tell them, come to a meeting. I encourage to come to a meeting, but so when you hear that and then you hear people in the room and it looks like like we're fighting with people here who have a different view, all I can say is come to the meeting, because I feel like then it presents a balance. Your opinion, and then the people who don't ever come to the meeting, when they come in, then their voice is heard, and then it shows that why we are going the way we're going, if we're agreeing or not agreeing with whatever the residents want. So to me, we need that in order to make intelligent decisions. And I think that we need people to step up and be engaged. So it's not that we don't want to hear them. I just feel like I can have 10 people tell me something when I walk down the street, and then I come in here and then I have 10 other people saying something else. So I feel like if you want your voice heard, you should send an email in, or you should come to the meeting and state your claim.
Any other comments on this amendment before we vote on it?
Well, comment on this, but also I still contend with that a little bit, because I think one way that people make their voice heard is speaking to their elected official when they're not in a meeting. So if that's out in the town, if that's out at a different event, if that's something else, if someone else is walking around and having a conversation, I still think that opinion is valid.
I agree. I
agree that people should come and comment and make their voices heard.
But put it on record. Put it on record, like everyone else has to put theirs on record, because like it brings it's like we're fighting and it's like, well, we have these people in your ear on this side and then you have.
But I want to like keep order, so if Commissioner Colbert can kind of.
It's in order. It's in
Commissioner
order.
Colbert can finish his statement. please.
I was talking through, it's a conversation. This is why we're here.
Right,
So
yes,
don't do that.
it is.
All right, so don't do that. Don't start.
But and I hear what you're saying, but again, I just don't think that it negates someone's opinion or their voice by speaking to someone or having a conversation, expressing their opinion in any form or fashion that they choose to do. So like I mentioned before, we all have an individual vote on this board, 1 of 5.
Yep.
And we all take in information and analyze and, act on that information separately. So I don't, in my opinion.
I agree with you too. I do agree with you too. Cause yeah, I agree with you too, Cobra.
So again, for the 4-year terms, I understand the argument. I understand and I hear the opposition to it. And one of the things we get to that later in the amendment is I have in the agenda, I have another amendment to the appointments clause. But I still contend that the 4-year terms allow for, especially with this change in the form of government, allow for the board to focus on legislating, on policy making, on executing plans, and being able to, yes, build and maintain relationships amongst peers, amongst the community members, amongst state and local officials, and getting things and getting projects over the line. So I think it's important. I think it's shown in other municipalities and at other levels that having an overlapping relationship with that a little bit longer of a tenure allows for more positive interactions and more positive results to occur. I don't think it takes away the responsibility, frankly, of us as elected officials to be out in the community. I hear the argument about, it takes away the need to go out and campaign.
No.
I don't think it does. I don't think it takes away the need to be in the community, to be engaged, to be at events, to have conversations with residents, to be in community with each and every one of the members of this town. What I think it does, again, is provides the opportunity to be able to continue to have a longer term vision and be able to execute that longer term vision. And that's why I continue to support
it. Any other comments?
I want to say that I initially supported it, but then when I started hearing so many people against it, because initially when we talked about it, I didn't think it was a bad idea. Because like somebody like Joe on the board for a long period of time who has more experience and more history under his belt, I felt like that was good for the town. But then I started hearing so many people oppose it, and then I see that on the survey, so many people support it. So where do we go? You know what I mean? It's a big decision for us to have to make, and it's just a big decision. And either way, we're gonna have people who are unhappy.
So another consideration is that it has been difficult in the past to get people to run for commissioner to serve for 2 years. You now have people who have to make a 4-year commitment to run. And so, are you gonna get that, especially with the board now being 5? And with longer terms, you are more likely to have someone, either have to move out of town or something like that, at 2 years, you trigger a special election now, there's that whole issue of what happened to Charter Amendment 1, 2025. But there are a lot of people who served 2 years and then got out, they decided, nope, I can't do this anymore.
I just want to give Commissioner Brooks a chance.
Well, I hear what you're saying, Commissioner Lott. I go around and I talk to people all the time, and I want everyone's voice to be heard, whether you come here or not. I don't know if some people can't come, whether it's childcare or whatever, but I believe in democracy with everybody. So I take into consideration everybody's voice. And we did the survey. The survey, some people may not like the survey, but the survey is the survey. So the people that did it, they responded. Would I like to see more do the survey? Of course. I mean, someone spoke earlier, how do you engage more? You can talk to your neighbors. we have it out here on the website for people to come to the meetings twice a month. We did the survey, we put the signs in people's yards. I said this before, 2 or 3 times. You talk to people. I talk to people in my neighborhood. I talk to people in Spring Branch. I talk to people in other neighborhoods. I mean, what more can you do?
I agree with that.
I mean, we put it right there in your lap. And someone says, talk to people like they're 6th graders. Okay. I mean, I don't know if I feel comfortable talking to someone like a 6th grade, but it's a way to communicate. And I tell people, I say, go on the website, you can sign up for VIP.
VIR, yeah.
That can tell you, it'll send you emails all the time.
Tell you what's going on.
Tell you what's going on, what's going on in the town. If we're having this, we're having that. So I don't know what more we can do because it's right there in your lap. Of course, we're not always going to agree on everything. That's life. I don't agree with a lot of stuff that's going on in the world, but I vote, I make my voice heard. But, it's just a level of respect. You don't have to agree with someone on everything, but it's a level of respect. I give you respect, and I would like to have that in return.
All right. Well, I just
want to clarify something. I just want to clarify, I don't discount people that I talk to in the street if they make their voice heard. I don't discount what they say. All I was saying is I would like to see them come to the meetings and become more engaged.
I agree.
That's agreed.
I agree.
I just want to clarify that.
So I just have one more comment to make before I call the vote, which is, for me, after the last election, because of all that being out in the community right around an election, I exhausted myself and I didn't get to go out. I was so tired. I didn't get out the way that it normally would have been. Like, I like to be out every 4 to 6 months, out knocking on everybody's doors. And I exhausted myself campaigning, which I don't think is the most valuable use of my time and most valuable use of my interaction with residents. So that's another factor for me on this. But if the residents have really come out in force, like in the survey against it, they just didn't. And while there are comments against, there are a lot of comments for, and even one of the people who voted that they were opposed actually was in support of the 4 years, but they just were against the staggered, which was a compromise that this council came to. So that's my last comment on that. Anyone else have a last comment before we vote?
So on the mention of engagement, the breakdown, which you've taken the document off, as you said, there were 45 responses. That means that there were only 4 responses total from Spring Branch and 8 responses total from Marlboro Town. So that seems like, there's some definite issues with making sure that the whole town is engaged. And I was actually surprised by that because I believe they actually had A-frame signs leaving their neighborhood, whereas the folks on Marlboro Pike and Old Crane didn't have such notification. I think it's page 2.
Right. Engagement is engagement, right? This is a survey that is based on who actually chose to respond. And this gets us more engagement than, just so everyone in the room knows, we typically have like 2 or 3 people in this room on meeting night. So this is way more representation and comments than we normally have in a meeting. And it's a more diverse range of representation and comments. And it's not perfect because it's not a scientific study. And if we had a scientific study, everyone who wanted to participate wouldn't get to, because that's not scientific. So this allowed people to participate. So I think I hear what you're saying about it's not perfect representation, but I don't think.
So the 2 to 3 people was since the pandemic. Before that, we used to have, maybe not quite this large of a crowd unless it was a night we were passing a budget. But there were, definitely more folks than commissioners. We probably had, half a dozen to a dozen folks at most, citizens that were not staff or commissioners at meetings.
Can I ask you a question? Did you say you were surprised? You were surprised by what? You said something about Spring Branch that
So
notice?
Spring Branch and Marlboro Town had the A-frame signs leading their neighborhood with the QR code for the survey, correct?
Yes.
So,
Yes.
and
Rectory Lane too.
So in Rectory Lane did also.
Yeah.
Old Marlboro Pike did not, Old Crane Highway did not have, an obvious notice of that sort, and yet their participation was much higher.
yeah, but that may be, but they still had the signs posted on their doors.
There's two commissioners that live on Old Marlboro Pike, and there's one commissioner that lives on Old Crane Highway, and so we're obviously talking to our neighbors and encouraging to do that. So that is probably.
So I'm saying it seems when you have 27% of the responses coming from 75% of the homes in town.
So what are you questioning?
No,
I think he's just explaining that
Oh.
he's not, why he is not. So I think we need to come back to orders of the day and vote. I think everyone sort of explained why they're gonna vote, how they're gonna
Okay.
vote. So let's.
So,
put that in.
so one more comment on the campaigning. In the past, if you were doing a good job, there was really a need to campaign. I mean, I've been elected 4 times now, and 2 of those, I didn't bother campaigning.
Okay, would you call a vote for us? We're,
Let me ask
so,
you,
hold-
also,
let me-
we voted, the town manager is in this,
No, so
Okay,
we're in an amendment right now. So the amendment is to strike all
we still-
changes regarding 4-year staggered terms
Okay.
to revert to the 2-year staggered terms. I'm sorry, 2-year, yeah, to revert to what is now. So make no change. That's what we're voting. We're voting, are we going to stay with 2-year terms or 4-year terms?
Okay.
So a vote of yes is to go to 2-year terms, a vote of no is to stay with 4-year terms. Go ahead, sorry.
Commissioner Brooks,
No.
Commissioner Colbert,
Nay.
Mayor Franklin,
Nay.
Commissioner Lott,
Yes.
Commissioner Ercler,
Yes.
motion.
No, it carries.
It carried.
Okay.
It
No.
actually reflects the survey.
His motion was to strike.
Oh, right, so the motion fails.
Yes.
Yes, okay, I see what you're saying. You were right, Aiden, I'm sorry. Okay, all right, so now we're back at the main document. And I know we've done a lot of explaining, so maybe if we can each try to keep our comments on how we're voting brief, because the public is here and we have more on the agenda. And we'll start with Commissioner Brooks.
Sorry.
If you want to, if you don't have to explain how you're going to vote, but we're getting ready to vote and there's a lot of contention. So I wanted to give everyone a chance if they wanted to explain how.
Okay, yeah, I explained
All
later.
right, what are we voting on?
The whole thing with all the amendments that we
Okay.
just made. You're good?
Yes.
Commissioner Colbert, do you have anything you'd like to say?
Just a couple of thoughts and comments from not only my thought process, but also in reading and hearing some of the public comments. There was one comment about changing of the mayor's salary if we're moving to this council form of government, which I agree needs to be addressed. I think we already talked about that's handled in a separate resolution as part of the charter, but that should be added to the list of things we discussed. I'm sorry.
Speak out to us.
Sure. The notion that the council form of government reduces checks and balances. Overall, the town manager is still responsible and accountable to the board, the elected officials. The purpose of this, when we first discussed it at the February 8th work session, it was as part of the notes from the charter review board. It was recommended that we move to a more traditional commissioner form of government, as Commissioner Herclay described earlier. And at that time, the 5 commissioners, 2 of which were on that board, determined that because of potentially limiting the pool of commissioners to be specific in an area of town government, it might not have been the most effective way to move forward. And also having a town manager allows, again, the board to focus on legislating, executing priorities, strategizing, and putting things in place for the town to move forward. We also discussed a mayor council form of government, which would have, in my opinion, I wanted to look at the weak mayor form of government as well. But it was agreed that we didn't want to have that mayor separately elected. And so this was the discussion and compromise that was born out of that discussion. There were comments about conflict with continuity. Continuity is in terms of setting and executing the policy, which is also in conjunction with the continuity of operations plan that is needed to execute those policies for the police department, public works, general government succession planning, and things of that nature. We've already talked about 4-year terms, removal. I think we've already kind of walked through this, but I think there was a little bit of conflation between removal from office and removal from a meeting. And removal from a meeting is discussed in the charter, but is also handled in the meeting regulations resolution that's separately discussed. And we talked about recall and whatnot. And I also want to say, when it comes to the community engagement and having the public comment being an integral part of this process, again, we had a meeting on February 8th. We've discussed each of these changes. At subsequent meetings, we've had a public comment period at each section. We've had an open portal on the town website for anyone to provide comments. We have comments in the survey. We've gotten comments via email in the town portal. I also, just as a note, I know Patty Calicott also sent a comment prior to this meeting, so I want that to be a part of this package as well for the record. There's still always the opportunity to have these discussions, and I think, the voices. I hear what people are saying. I don't believe that the voice is being taken away. We've made amendments to these charter changes based on the feedback we've had in each one of these conversations, as has been the case in other ordinances and resolutions that we've passed. So it's not changing how that works. And again, the opportunity still exists. If there's overwhelming opposition to this, according to the Maryland Code, if this passes tonight, there's an opportunity for citizen petitioning of a referendum. So, and that is one of the reasons that I introduced a 20% threshold, which would be in alignment with that petitioning of a referendum. So that option has not been taken away as well. So that part of my thought process and how I'm voting for this matter. So.
Do you want to comment on your vote?
No.
Commissioner Forkley, do you want to vote? Comment?
So a few, so I actually had downloaded the packet before the meeting, actually last Friday. And this had been marked as a board discussion, not a board vote. So I'm actually realized as we were discussing this has been changed to a board vote. And the public hearing that, we had at 6:30 typically requires 21 days notice, and
it had 21 days notice.
So there was 20 days. So the first notice that I saw of it was the January 2nd publication in the Baltimore Sun.
So January 2nd is.
Sorry, July 2nd in the Baltimore Sun. So not even the newspaper that we usually use for giving notice.
So just to clarify, and I don't know if our town administrator wants to clarify, or our attorney wants to clarify what the actual notice requirements are. It is not actually required to be put.
Is that it is posted in public?
I would like the attorney to clarify that for us.
Certainly, the requirement that's stated in state law for publication of the public hearing, which is different than the publication once the resolution is passed, requires 21 days of public notice. That has been interpreted as public notice in accordance with the way that the town or the municipality typically publishes notice for all of its public hearings. So that public notice does not need to be in a newspaper of general circulation. It can be posted on the website. And it's my understanding from the staff that this was posted on the town's website and also posted a paper copy at town hall more than 21 days before this meeting.
So if you look at the town website and you click on the item that is the notice of the public hearing, the date that's listed on that is July 7th.
Okay, so I'm good. went over this with the attorneys. Proofs of the notification were provided by staff. And I don't know if Administrator Anderson, you want to speak up in here, but this was reviewed by the attorney and staff.
Yes, it was, and it was posted within 20, it was posted for more than 21 days. So.
So if the newspaper notification is not the requirement, why did we publish something in the Baltimore Sun when everything else, including something on July 3rd, was published in the PG Post?
So let me take that question. For the past few months, we have not had a town clerk. I am not a town clerk. My definition of what I thought was a newspaper of general circulation would include the Washington Post and the Baltimore Sun. When I spoke with the town attorney to confirm that, I was informed that the newspaper of record in Prince George's County is the PG Post, would be the PG Post, and I believe the Gazette Inquirer. So that is why that happened.
But also it was because, I'm sorry, it was because you, our town administrator, believed that it needed to be put in a newspaper. But then when you checked with the attorney, you found that it didn't, and you had already noticed it. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So we've been down this road of whether we noticed it properly or not. And
So, and when was it published? When was it published to the town's website?
The general policy, this was placed on the agenda back in June. So this would have been posted to the town's website. I think the last meeting we had in June was June 10th. So it would have been shortly after that. What I can say to you with absolute certainty is that it was posted more than 21 days before July 22nd. It was not posted in July, it was posted in June.
so do you have any other comments about your vote before you make it?
So I still believe that this would be, if our current situation is allowed, our current processes are allowed under the current charter, and we have a different administration come in who does not need the same level, of support, then, we are binding their hands into what form of government we have. Now, we've had town managers and town administrators in the past. Some have been better than others. I'm not opposed to having a town administrator at all, which we have now. But I think that this is, the way this looks to me as we have commissioners who don't want to do the work and they want to pass it off to someone else. And then I still have the question of whether proper notice has been given and whether this is trying to be slipped past. It just, in the past, when charter amendments have come up, there's been a forum, there's been a discussion of need first, before the language was even drafted, of just trying to identify and get the citizens on board with, the overall concept of what needs to be changed. And then the wordsmithing is done to figure out, okay, how are we actually going to accomplish this? And it seems like it's just been pushed on folks without that initial buy-in on the need. And then a survey that, if that was a scientific publication, would not be valid. Now, it's not, but
That's true.
it just, I don't believe I can support this. I definitely cannot support the 4 years.
So I have a question.
Okay.
I'm sorry, you said that some commissioners pass off their work to others. What are you talking about?
I don't want to get down a rabbit hole on that. That's his opinion.
I'm saying that
So
is,
I just don't wanna, let's let him finish his opinion and then I'll give my opinion and we'll vote, because I feel like
personal.
it is. Yes, I realize that he's saying things about the four of us that aren't flattering, and he's allowed to do that as long as he doesn't call us out by name. So we're gonna let him.
Well, I'm sure you.
Excuse me. The one, it's not to talk to us. Go ahead. If you could please
So
finish.
I know that Commissioner here, I mean, you did all that work on Marlboro Day, so obviously, you know, you are doing stuff, but basically, you all were not here for the firefighters, and the firefighters totally did that. They got in, they wanted their money, they were even talking about passing around the presidency, so no one person had to do it for 2 years, and we had to explain to them that's a violation of the charter. And so
It's personal. That's your personal opinion, that's what you're saying?
That's
saying that.
Okay.
I don't see right now. So I need to keep order.
Clearly, Guy.
I am saying
Clearly.
that
Okay.
that is how
So-
this process looks from the outside.
So,
In your opinion.
okay, sorry. Yes, this is, sorry. This is opinion time. Everyone said their opinion except for me. I am going to share my opinion and then we are going to vote. So I want to say that I think there is a certain group of people that is looking at those of us that are more representative of the general population, which is people that are middle-aged and have children and can't come here all the time. My own child has to miss volleyball practice in the fall because I'm here and I can't take her. And my husband already told you that he works nights. So I think there's this perception, right, that those of us who are younger and trying to modernize things and professionalize things are doing something that is not in line with the population. I think that's a false impression. I think it also is a little disrespectful to all the other residents of this town, especially those residents who are in this group. Having a professional town manager allows those of us who have full-time jobs to have those full-time jobs and be certain someone is there professionally running the town all the time. The other thing it lets us do, and I have had this experience by having to be the town manager for a year, is that with a professional town manager, that frees up all our time to be out in the community, talking to you, to be meeting with different stakeholders, meeting with different levels of government. It frees me up to go to Annapolis and testify on behalf of the town. So this actually increases the capacity of us as legislators and as representatives of the town. I think one of the things about this is that a lot of it is compromise, and that is what we should do. We should compromise. Do I think every single piece of this is 100% something I agree with? No, because we sat down for a few hours on a Saturday in February, and we sat around and we compromised until we came up with something that we all agreed on. And that's how it should be. And that shows respect for everyone. The five of us up here are elected by the people. And so it's not that we get elected by the people and then we listen to the few people who come to the meeting. We still have to be responsible to those people who elected us. And so I think that that is a really important through line. I just want to say also that this isn't really disenfranchising people. This is giving the people who voted for us, we're here representing them. Because they can't be here because their kid is playing volleyball or whatever it is. And I want to say that the reason I really feel this form of government is necessary beyond all those things is that I was a commissioner under this form of government, and the mayor at the time would not provide me with a packet prior to the meeting. I would get it 24 hours before the meeting. I was not permitted to ask questions. I was not permitted to talk. I was only permitted to talk to one staff member. And at one point I was only permitted to talk to the mayor, and I could not do my job. And the existing charter allows that to happen again. And that is one of the reasons that when I came in, I said, we have to take away power from the mayor. And we have to do it while somebody sitting in this seat is willing to give it up. And so That is important to me, and it is important to me to know that the next commissioners will have someone who has to give them the material and has to answer their question, because otherwise they'll get fired. And that allows more people who are in this sort of middle age with kids to serve as your commissioners. And I think that's a positive thing. So that is me explaining my vote. And I will ask our assistant to call the vote.
Aye.
Commissioner Bowman,
Aye.
Mayor Franklin,
Aye.
Commissioner Lott,
What are we voting on?
The charter, the whole thing, the
The
charter.
whole thing?
Yeah.
I thought the town manager was separate from the 4 years and all that stuff.
We already voted on the 4 years. No, that's all in one. All one.
Abstain.
Commissioner Kirkland,
No.
Okay.
motion carried.
All right. We're going to move on to item B on the agenda. This is ordinance 2025-04, emergency budget adjustment for grant funding. I'm going to ask our assistant to read it into the record.
Emergency ordinance 2025-04, an ordinance relating to adopting and approving budget amendments to the fiscal year 2026 budget.
And Chief, if you would just explain, I want to give one explainer before I turn it over to you, which is this is not a whole budget. This is just an amendment for grant funding. Go ahead, Chief.
Yes, so earlier this year, we applied for grant funding, which we were awarded $20,000. So, what I need the board to vote in favor of this so that we can spend the money. We've already been awarded it, just need to vote so that the amendment can change the budget so that we can go ahead and spend the money for additional surveillance cameras and access control.
And this is because we can't expend any monies that were not budgeted for. And since we didn't know we were getting the grant,
Right.
we didn't budget. All right. Are there any questions on this amendment?
I'm sorry, you said for cameras and what was the second thing?
Access control.
Access control.
Any other questions? All right, so we will now have public comments. Still have 3 minutes, but you know, it's getting late. So maybe if you want to try to be more concise, you don't have to be. It's a suggestion. And if you're online, you can raise your hand.
What is, Mary Palmer, what is access control?
The door, so you can go and do a door.
Oh, I see.
Swipe.
So it's surveillance.
Yes.
Security.
Yes, security.
At Calicut Church Street. This commission just made a vote based on 45 people's opinion out of.
Okay, so is this about the budget amendment? Okay,
Does it sound like it's about the budget amendment?
doesn't.
About 45% of the survey.
Okay,
There were 45 people, right? 45 people, that's not even 10%.
but the survey wasn't on the budget amendment, so I'm wondering about the budget amendment.
The survey was about the budget, not the budget amendment. Oh, this is the budget amendment.
Yes.
I thought it was, sorry, I thought we were at the end and it was the 3 minutes, sorry. Consider yourself forward.
Surveillance.
All right. Any other public comment on the budget amendment that allows us to spend the $20 grant funding that the town received? Thank you, Chief Burse and Administrator Anderson, for your work on that. All right, hearing none, is there a motion to approve ordinance 2025-04 emergency budget adjustment for grant funding?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Would you call the roll?
First have to do another motion. So there has to be a motion to let me find it. Section 8211 of the charter. Where is that? Find the wording. You have to suspend the rules, so that way this is allowed to be an emergency ordinance.
Okay, I'll rescind my, oh, sorry, Commissioner Lott, will you rescind your motion? And
No, you have to have them both together.
Right, so we have to rescind the motion to, can you ask Commissioner Brooks if the two of you can rescind your motion? And I'll rephrase it for you.
Can we rescind our motion, Commissioner Brooks?
Okay, so the motion is rescinded. Is there a motion to suspend the rules and approve ordinance 2025-04 emergency budget adjustment for grant funding?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I second.
Okay. Would you call the roll for us, please?
Yes. Commissioner Brooks,
Aye.
Commissioner Colbert,
Aye.
Mayor Franklin,
Aye.
Commissioner Lott,
Aye.
Commissioner Erwin,
Aye.
motion carries.
All right, we are moving on to two charter amendments. Charter Amendment Resolution 1-2025, Section 8232 vacancies is the first one. That is an introduction, and we're going to read it into the record. Our town attorney is going to explain it, but I just want to give our town administrator a chance to explain why this is on the agenda, because I know he's prepared to do that.
All right. Good evening, Mayor, members of the board. Charter Resolution 01-2025, Section 8232 vacancies is being reintroduced because it was not advertised in full compliance with state law during its initial introduction. State law requires that a charter resolution be advertised 4 times within a 40-day period after it's approved to ensure the public is fully informed and has the opportunity to provide input. Due to an oversight, the resolution was not advertised the required number of times.
You've advertised 2 times now.
Yes. And yes, it was advertised. It wasn't advertised in the required number of times and within the required time period. So I just want to clarify that.
So that is why this is being reintroduced. So we've already kind of gone through this process, but we're going through it again because of that. And Assistant Thomas, could you read it into the record?
Charter Amendment Resolution number 41-2025, a charter amendment resolution of the Board of Commissioners of the Town of Marlborough, Maryland, amending Section 8232 vacancies of the Charter of the Town of Marlborough. To alter the process for filling vacancies on the Board of Commissioners, provide for the filling vacancies during the first half of the Commissioner's term by special election, and filling vacancies during the second half of the Commissioner's term by appointment by the Commission.
We're on page 51 for everyone.
Point of order.
Yes.
Just clarification, so in the last motion, when we were going to suspend the rules, was there supposed to be a second vote to actually approve the budget?
I did it all in one.
It's all in
I think
one.
suspend the rules and,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So the rules are back in order because. So, Attorney Board, if you could just do a brief explanation of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Franklin. Again, this charter resolution amends Section 8232 of the charter. It is identical to the charter resolution that was previously adopted by the council, with the exception is that we have updated the terms in accordance with the charter resolution that did just pass. So instead of referring to commissioners, it does refer to town council and the appropriate form of government here. But this section does deal with vacancies in office, and it does allow appointment of an individual in certain circumstances for those vacancies. And again, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Go ahead, you have a question.
Well, not a question, but I actually wanted to, since this opportunity has presented itself, I wanted to propose an actual amendment to this ordinance.
So that gives me a question for the attorney, which is, we can do what we just did, right? Introduce it and then make an amendment.
Correct.
The introduction and
You would
that
need
works.
You would need to have a motion to introduce first, and then it can be amended.
Okay. So is there any questions before we start making motions and amendments? Okay. Is there a motion to introduce hold on, we got to get public comment first. So public comment. Again, come on up, tell us who you are, share your, remember to stay.
Again, Elm Street. So now that it's 4 years, that's gonna be 2 years of appointee. It does not go with the Democrat, town governance, in my opinion.
George Lane, I would agree with that democratic, issue. Employment. I don't know who appoints this person who's no longer here in town, or whatever.
Well, I'll answer that question when the public comment period's done.
Yeah, so.
That's just how we do it.
An issue of putting these things down, if you do it now, 2 years, why wouldn't you do it in 4 years, 2 years after the first 2 years? No idea.
Just so everyone knows why I answer your comment after the period is up is because people were eating up their entire comment period with questions and answers. And so it's respectful of your 3 minutes, and that's how we do it. Any other public comments? Okay, so just to answer the question, go ahead, Attorney Board, do you want to answer the question?
I'm sorry, if you could repeat the question, the testimony is a little garbled on my end.
So he was asking who appoints the person, which is covered in the ordinance. Like how is the person appointed?
Yeah, the person is appointed by the council itself.
And there's some regulations around how that person is appointed. And this is actually a really good example of the compromises we make with the people in the room. Because initially this amendment did not have a requirement that the people who wanted to be appointed had signatures from town residents. And so we listened to the people who were in the room who wanted the appointee to have some public support. And I think we started with having 30 signatures, and then it got down to compromise again, 20. So 20 qualified voters need to sign the petition for the person to be appointed before they can be appointed. So that's the process. So is there a motion to, so if you're on page 51, if you go to, that's actually page 53. 53, hold on, yes, 53, and it's in the, right at the, above where it says B in that last 2 sentences. So, is there a motion to introduce Charter Amendment Resolution 1-2025, section 82-32 vacancy? So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Are there any amendments?
I do have a proposed amendment, again, since this opportunity has presented itself, and we now move to 4-year term staggered. As opposed to having the appointment be for stated as the less than half of a council member's term, I actually think we should change that to if there is less than 1 year remaining until the next general election. So let me explain that. So 4-year terms, staggered terms, there's still an election every 2 years. So if a council member vacates their seat and there's less than 1 year until the next scheduled general election, then an appointment would be in place until that general election. And then that council member seat, whether it's normally up or whether it's up specifically because this vacancy exists, their replacement would be voted on at that election. So you're essentially, so let's just say, just as an example, 4-year term, someone vacates on day 1 year and 1 day into the 4-year term, and there's an election within 364 days later. There would be an appointment to fill those 364 days, and then that seat would be up again during that general election. So instead of 2 seats up, it may be 3, or instead of 3 seats up, it may be 4.
Can I just say that's very elegant?
Mm-hmm.
So there's no way that an appointee would fill more than 1 year of a term.
Of a 4-year person.
Attorney Board, because this is an introduction, do we actually can we make the motion to direct you all to make that change rather than having to actually write the text of the change while we're here in this meeting?
Yeah, no, you can, as part of your motion, direct staff
Introduce.
to make the change, and then that would be brought back before the public hearing.
All right, so do you want to make what you said into a motion, but you don't have to have the exact?
Sure. I move that we amend, what is the section?
Well, maybe say the whole document in case it's in other places.
Sure.
Yeah, 8232.
8232, to note that an appointment would only be when there is less than 1 year of a term remaining prior to the next general election. That makes sense?
Less that, I'm just writing it down. 1 year.
Prior to the general election. You said next general election.
Next general election.
Is there a second for that motion? Sorry.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion?
So you were saying this is on a 4-year, the person, whomever, if they have a 4-year term.
Right, so essentially, if there's a council member that has a 4-year term, if they vacate their seat in year 1 or year 3 of that term, there would still be a special election. If they vacate that term or vacate that seat in year 2 or year 4, because those would both be within 1 year of the next general election, that's when an appointment would be triggered.
Okay.
My only comment is I really like this. It's a super elegant solution today. And responsive to the comments that we got on this survey.
Sure.
So it also helps fix the issue that if someone had been elected in a special election and then vacated.
Correct.
Do you use half of their current, their term might be 3 years, and then you.
Did we just lose the light?
There's a public work answer.
Okay, so that, any other discussion or can we vote on that amendment? Okay. Assistant Thomas, would you call that roll?
Commissioner Brooks,
Aye.
Commissioner Colbert,
Aye.
Mayor Franklin,
Aye.
Commissioner Lott,
Aye.
Commissioner Ercler,
Hi.
motion carries.
Now we're back to the introduction. Any other comments? Okay,
Another amendment.
okay. Go ahead.
So the first amendment is,
Page.
yes, 54 on special elections. So a special election shall not be held sooner than 30 days and not later than 45 days after the occurrence of the vacancy. As someone who has run special elections, 45 days is a very tight schedule considering that you have to give 20 days notice of deadlines. And it has to be in a newspaper of general circulation, and you have to get, basically they need lead time to be able to print it. And so basically, as soon as the vacancy happens, you need to get stuff to the newspaper. So I would actually propose that the 45 days go to 60 days. And I don't know if it's acceptable or if there's a good wording for how to handle it. But the not be held sooner than 30 days actually got us into problems in the past, because in 2020, we had someone leave town, triggering a special election, and then someone died in office 28 days before the special election. So we ended up having, in the middle of the pandemic, 2 special elections 2 weeks apart. And so I would think that you would still need to be able to give, for the first election, you need to have that sufficient time to give notice for the people so that they know there's a vote. But some way of being able to combine those really would have been nice.
So the section you're amending is talking about if more than one vacancy occurs within 5 business days of the public announcement of an initial town council vacancy. So you're only amending that section for regarding multiple town vacancies.
So right now, multiple town vacancies only talks about appointments and doesn't actually take into consideration that it might be a special election that's triggered. The first one is a special election.
So if you're in 8232B. C, 8232C, multiple town vacancies, 2, which is what you were talking about on page 54, where you said we were. So you're talking about when there's multiple town vacancies.
Right, and so this one is, if it occurs within 3 months of the first vacancy, the town council may offer the vacancy to any of the other applicants, but the first vacancy might have been a special election. Might have triggered a special election, not a appointment.
Right, but it says may, not shall. But you're proposing an amendment to number 2. And you were just, I'm sorry, because you were talking about what happens if there's 2 vacancies at a similar time, which we all discussed extensively. And you're wanting to change that from 45 to 60 days. I just want to make sure that because what you're saying isn't matching the section you're amending, and I want to make sure that what you want to do is actually happening.
So the first one is, so in 54, that one was 30 days to 40, so 30 days to no later than 45 days. That one goes 30 to 60.
Right,
So now,
That's section
B special.
right, so now
Okay.
in multiple vacancies, you actually have 2 cases here, because this only assumes that the first vacancy was an appointment, because it only talks about, it talks about triggering a special election, but it doesn't cover a special election and then another special election. It only triggers the assumption of an appointment and then a special election.
I think the first part is just allowing the council to draw from the same pool if they want to. It doesn't require them to.
So as another possibility, which would also cover other elections special elections that we've had to have, would be that in the case that a vacancy occurs within, say, 3 months of an election, that it shall be offered to the person who was the next runner-up in that previous election. If there was one, which might be a write-in, and then if they refuse, that could trigger a whole other special election, but still, at least that would remove, potentially reduce the number of special elections that are needed and still give power to the people who selected there.
We discussed that part of this is like, a lot of this we discussed, including the 60 days, and there was a numerical calculation reason we reverted back to the 45 days. I do not remember what it was because it was like 3 or 4 months ago.
We can get that information,
Yeah.
about it, we consider that, but I actually, I was going where you were going, but I actually was thinking that in the original section of the charter, it says a vacancy within 61 days, basically before a general election will just stay vacant until that general election. And I think maybe reintroducing that into this amendment so that you don't have, it's neither an appointment nor a special election. It's just if it's 60 days because of the amount of time that you're mentioning, 30 to 45 days to call an election. If the seat becomes vacant 60 days before a general election, that seat's just vacant for those 2 months until the next election.
Makes sense.
Well, that's not a motion yet
It's not, but-
because Commissioner Horkley has the floor for motion. So let's let him finish.
Yeah, so I don't know if that's something that can be directed to be done or just consensus on the general concept and then wordsmithing happens.
Right, so we can vote on it. I'm just telling you that I'm gonna vote no on it because I know we discussed both of those things and I don't want to vote yes on something and then go back to, we made these decisions for a reason. But do you want, let's vote.
Table it, then?
If Commissioner Horkley wants to make this motion and have us vote on it, then he should be allowed to. But if he wants to table it, he can't.
I would still like to make the motion.
Right. So is there a second for this motion?
Can we repeat the motion?
I guess we should do them as separate ones. So the first one is to adjust the special election that was originally not held sooner than 30 days and not later than 45 days to give the Board of Election Supervisors 60 days to do a special election.
And that's in section B.
And that is section B, and it may come up also in C2.
Okay, so in both places.
Yeah.
Is there a second?
45 days be extended to 60 days.
Is there a second for that motion?
I'll second it.
Would you call that vote?
Commissioner Brooks,
Nay.
Commissioner Colbert,
Aye.
Mayor Franklin,
Nay.
Commissioner Lott,
Aye.
Commissioner Berkeley,
Aye.
motion carries.
I guess,
We may have to change that later, but that's why I
but at
voted.
least we'll get the information and it'll be voted on.
Yeah.
Well, if there's more information, then we can.
Yeah, because we talked
Work on
about
that.
that.
Yes, that's fine.
And then,
And then the other.
Got another one. Yeah.
Then the other situation was, I guess the first one is or second one, would be adding that if an election had happened within the past, we'll say 90 days, that it would be offered to whoever was runner-up in the previous election.
Oh.
With it, so you would not trigger a special election in that case, because that would also solve the issue that if a write-in were to win, that person really did not want to be written in and they declined to be sworn in, you wouldn't trigger this, a second special election just for that.
Okay, what was your note again? Say it again.
So if the vacancy should occur within 90 days of an election, that the runner-up in that election should be offered, the opportunity to, take on the position.
Instead of an appointment process.
And so, yeah, it wouldn't be an appointment, it would just be, they automatically are offered. I don't know if you have to do I guess if they then refuse, you then have to trigger a special election, or you have to say that it can then go to the next in line and still.
Okay, is there a second for that?
No problem. I second
Okay, any discussion? Okay, so I'm gonna have a discussion, which is that I realize that there's a new member of the board, but at the time, the board, that was 5 people, actually had a discussion about this. And we said, that person can go ahead and be one of the applicants for the vacancy, but that it shouldn't necessarily automatically go to that person. That was a compromise collaboration decision that we made. And I stand by that. I don't know, what everyone else thinks.
So if it is within 3 months of an election, unless it was within 3 months of a special election, it would still be. Well, I guess now that there's staggered terms, there's the possibility of it being half of their term, or no, you would not have 1 year of their term left. And so it would never, after a regular election, there would be no possibility of it then being an appointment process. If it was after a special election, potentially, and then you'd have,
Okay.
But if there were already an election, the odds of it then being an appointment is much reduced.
I'm just sort of saying, I don't know what everyone else thinks, and we can vote if people don't want to discuss more. Would you call the vote for that motion?
Nay.
Nay. Mayor Franklin,
Nay.
Commissioner Locke,
Nay.
Mayor Kirkland,
Aye.
motion.
Fails.
Well, that was the right call.
So we're back to the introduction with,
So then one more, then the third amendment is the case of multiple town vacancies when they are both, the first one is a special election and then you trigger a second special election, or whether or not they can be combined into one.
I think the problem that I see with that, like a legal perspective, is which deadline, right? So if you're in the middle of a special election process and you're like 2 weeks out from the special election and somebody resigns, then you combine it into one, you really haven't given a lot of opportunity, the same opportunity to fill that second spot as you did the first. But if you go ahead and push it back, then you've got 2 vacant seats for a much longer time. So that would be my concern there. I don't know what anyone else thinks on that.
I just kind of think it's cleaner if you just keep consider both seats, you know, by the date of their vacancy. I mean, we have the notion that if the second town council occurs within 3 months, the town may offer the vacant seat to any of the applicants, not initiating a round of solicitation, and voting vacancy for 5 days of the public announcement of an initial town council vacancy, the council call a special election. Which I think that was getting at, if there were, you know, if this was in the time frame of, and maybe I'm misremembering, but if this was in the time frame where basically 2 appointments would be triggered, then if there's more than one appointment that will be made, that would turn it into a special election for both of those seats, right? Wasn't that discussion?
right.
It was kind of trying to address Commissioner Urquhart's concern and like, yes, and not trying to have 2 appointments in a row. It's still possible to wind up with 2 appointments, but I think the solution that you presented, if you have 2 appointments, it's really a short time that you actually have those 2 appointments, and it's going to be an unusual situation if it happens.
So, but you still have the issue that multiple town council vacancies. So, you know, in the event a second occurs within the first 3 months of the first vacancy, so this automatically assumes, you know, it's other applicants for the first vacancy. So is the other applicants for the first vacancy the people who put in their names for the commission, or just if the first one had been an appointment process?
So again, it's may. I remember us talking about may rather than shall, specifically for that reason. That was how we addressed that. So if it's a special election, then it's not that you shall offer it to other applicants. There weren't other applicants, so you're going to go through the process.
In a way, the people who applied to run, you know, as candidates, registered as candidates, are applicants for the position.
Well, they don't have 20 signatures, so technically, like, there's more process they should have to go through for appointment. But let's put it as a motion, and then we can get a second and vote on it.
So it's also the second part, because then you have, so C2 assumes that the first one was an appointment process, and then you are switching into a special election. But if the first one was a special election, you know, that whole.
Sorry.
So perhaps this should just be clarified, C1, that this is referring to the appointment period. Because the way that it reads, and I hear Commissioner Urquhart's point, the way that this reads, in the event of a second town council vacancy occurs within the first vacancy, the town council may offer the vacancy to any of the other applicants for the first vacancy without initiating a new round of public solicitation for applicants. That's reading as the appointment process.
Right.
If it's, to me, that still doesn't really get to even in the special election period. You know, you're not having a special election, and you basically have, even if it's within 3 months of a special election or 3 months of that first vacancy, you're still having a separate process, because the charter amendment says if at this point, if we move forward with the amendment as I proposed previously, if it's on day 363 that someone vacates their seat, that would trigger a special election. But then 28 days later, another vacancy comes up that technically would trigger an appointment. So I think it's reasonable to, you know,
You then have two,
them clean.
but you then have 2 vacancies at the same time, because the first one triggered a special election.
Yeah.
And so now, you know, by this one, you then trigger a second special election.
No,
it'd be a
we don't.
It would be an
So-
appointment.
Sorry, it's,
So you have slightly more than 1 year left
Yes.
on the
That would be a-
first one. So that would be, and then you now have multiple and then someone leaves before that special election is finished, and whether it's within 5 business days of the public announcement of that vacancy.
Mhm.
This would then trigger another special election that then occurs 30 to 45 days, but that's what you might be past 1 year. But they might
Yeah.
be within that 1 year
And
period.
right, but I think that's an exception. Again, we're saying if it occurs within 5 business days of the public announcement of the town council vacancy. So if you're already planning to have a special election, because that was triggered prior to that 1 year mark. And then someone, on the other side of that 1 year by 1 day, but within 5 days of that first vacancy, I think it's reasonable to say that, okay, well, we'll just have a special election for both of these at the same time, since we're already planning for that special election.
But we can't get too far away from the 5 days because then we don't give everybody fair notice.
And if you're within 30 days of that, basically, if the special election has been declared, you're now within 30 days of the special election. So in our case, it was 28 days. But it bridges that 1 year cutoff. You're then, by this, having a special election.
Right.
And so, but can you combine the two?
Right, I think that's what this clause is saying.
Yeah.
That they would combine the multiple vacancies into one special election. At least that was the intent. Maybe we need to clarify that if that wasn't the case.
Because now cannot be held sooner than 30 days and not later than 45 days after the occurrence of vacancy. But it's which vacancy?
It's the first vacancy because you can't have it. It has to be the first vacancy.
But if this is a case of first you have an appointment and then you have a second person leave office, so you then have a second vacancy when you start when the discussion happened was for the case of you wouldn't do 2 appointments at the same time. So if one appointment starts, if a case where you would have an appointment starts, and then a second person steps down or leaves office or whatever,
Within 5 days.
you would then have a special election.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Right. So in that case, there was also the question of, do you just have a special election for the second person or for both of them? Or,
No,
that was never fully.
it's for both of them.
Yes, but if we're appointing the first person and then we have a special election.
You're not appointing the first person. That's what this is addressing. Let me, because we're kind of going in circles and we don't have a motion. Attorney Board, is it possible to clarify this section based on the discussion we've just had?
Yes, I mean, I think we can take a look at the language based on the discussion. I certainly understand the concept and what the intent here is, that again, if there's more than 2 vacancies within that 5-day period of time, we should just be holding 1 special election instead of 2. So we can take a look at the language and clarify that and bring that back prior to the public hearing.
So I'm going to jump in and make a motion to amend the ordinance to clarify section C based on the discussion the council has had this evening. Is there a second for that motion?
Second.
Let's not, I don't want to discuss it, but is there any discussion? Okay. Would you call that vote for us?
Aye.
Aye.
Mayor Sharp,
Aye.
Commissioner Allah, Commissioner Ercole.
Nay.
Okay. There's going to be more chance to discuss this because this is going to be on our August work session before we vote on it on August 26th. Do you have any more amendments, Commissioner Ercole? I know you wanted to propose another amendment.
I reintroduced the clause of if a vacancy happens within 1 days of a general election, that remains vacant until said election.
I will second that. Is there any discussion on that? Would you call a vote for us?
Commissioner Brooks, aye. Commissioner Colbert,
Aye.
Mayor Franklin,
Aye.
Commissioner Watt, Commissioner Ercole,
Aye.
motion carries.
All right, do we have any more amendments? Okay. We are back to the original introduction as amended. Would you call a roll call vote on that for us? Huh? So the motion on the floor was to introduce Charter Amendment Resolution 1-2020 2025, section 82-32 vacancies. Motion was made by Commissioner Lott and seconded by Commissioner Colbert. We've made several amendments to that, and now we need to vote on that motion itself. So,
Commissioner Brooks,
Aye.
Commissioner Colbert,
Aye.
Mayor Franklin,
aye.
Commissioner Lott,
Aye.
Commissioner Herbert,
Nay, that's, I thought I was voting last time, but I'm confused now about.
Fine, it will be back up for discussion at the work session, but they're gonna make changes to it first. And so we'll have a clean copy and we'll be able to discuss it then. This is not the end of things. Okay, last thing on the agenda, Charter Amendment Resolution 3-2025 state changes. This is an introduction and Assistant Thomas, if you could read it into the record, and then we'll let Attorney Ford tell us about it. Oh, and it's on page 66.
Amendment resolution number 03-2025, a charter amendment resolution of the Board of Commissioners of the Town of Marlborough, Maryland, amending various sections of the charter of the Town of Marlborough to modernize the charter by updating state law references to use gender neutral language and to make other non-substantive amendments.
This is a boring one to tell us about, Attorney Ford, but
Thank you. This is really a cleanup charter change. I think as we were going through all of the other charter revisions, we certainly noticed that there were a number of areas where the language wasn't either gender neutral or it referred to state law provisions that were no longer valid. So really the intent of this again is to bring the language into compliance with the current Maryland state law, and also, you know, to make some very minor substantive changes to make the language read better. So I can address the specific sections, or maybe just easier to answer questions if there are any.
are there any questions?
I don't think it counts as a question, but in section 10, the town administrator is specifically instructed to carry out the provisions of section 2, 3, 4, and 5, which I believe is an error. Is that those are charter amendment sections? I believe that because if there are multiple sections of amendments, that there'd probably be 6 through 9. And then later, when it refers to section.
Okay, hold on. Can you just repeat that so that?
So our page 64 of the packet, which is page 5 of this charter amendments, section 10. Be it further resolved that the town clerk of the town of Upper Marlborough, or in the absence of a town clerk, the town administrator is specifically instructed to carry out the provisions of section 2, 3, 4, and 5 hereof. But those are amendments.
It should be.
This looks to be copy and pasted from a charter amendment where there's just one section of just one amendment, and because there are multiple sections of amendments, everything else has been pushed down. And so I suspect that this should be sections 6, 7, 8, and 9.
That is correct.
And then the mention of section 5 down at the bottom should be section 9.
Okay, the attorney has agreed and she will look into that. We don't need a motion for that. What else do you have?
I'd like to be listed as one of the commissioners. Signature page.
Yeah, this is the one, because it's the same one, it's a reintroduction, so we'll get you on there. We only had 4 commissioners when we first passed this. That's why. Yeah. Yes.
We're not seeing alphabetical order or anything.
I think that's from you to you. So. I sent you something, but I think it wasn't relevant to this.
There's also a typo in section 4. Amended is spelled wrong. On page, package 62.
All right, we have.
Yeah, the typos, we don't need it, You got anything else?
No.
Okay, anyone else have anything about this?
No, let's see.
Okay, is there any public comment on this?
Hello. I don't have to go see this.
Okay, no public comment on this. Is there a motion to introduce okay, I just need it quiet so this can be heard. Is there a motion to introduce Charter Amendment Resolution 03-2025 state changes?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Would you call that vote for us?
Commissioner Brooks. Aye. Commissioner Colbert.
Aye.
Chair Franklin.
Aye.
Aye.
An introduction?
Yes.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, moving on to administrative updates. This does have commissioner reports. I know it is late, so if we can be concise, and then we'll turn it over to staff. Does anyone have a report, Commissioner Brooks?
No.
Commissioner Colbert?
A couple of quick things. I was able to attend a few events this past month. One with the State Secretary of Commerce, at an event in Laurel, was able to, again, show face, put Upper Marlboro in the face of the state agencies, which is a good thing. And also an organization for youth, which is Knowledge Equals Youth Success, KEYS program, graduate program through Experience Prince George's, which provides workplace skills development for youth high school graduates and early career individuals. We had some folks from Upper Marlboro who were graduates of that credentialing program, and they were placed in a number of different organizations in and around the state to get skills and start their career. So was happy to be a part of that. I also want to share one piece of good news and an example. Again, as I mentioned before, we all walk chew gum at the same time. For a number of years, the county has had a line item in the Redevelopment Authority's capital improvement plan budget, an allocation of about $2.5 million for downtown Upper Marlboro economic development. It was actually brought to my attention by former Mayor Penoyer when I first became a member of the board. And ever since then, I've been, like I said, a dog with a bone, trying to get that money released out of the county. And after 3 years of advocating, of pushing, of lighting fires, and all of us on the board engaging the state agencies, state representatives, and senators, we were actually able to get a portion of that appropriated to the town last year in the amount of $250,000. And our town administrator is now working with the Redevelopment Authority to deploy that to some business retention programs, and also doing some work in sprucing up downtown. So an example of, how these relationships, they take time, they work, but eventually we can get things done. And I've already let them know we'll be back for more. That's the last thing that we're asking for. We're trying to get some more.
I don't want to jump into your report. What you didn't say was, before we had a town administrator, you were working on this as well. So you should say that.
Yes, before we had a town administrator.
You have anything?
Just Community Day, August 9th. Please come out. It will be right here in our parking lot here. We will have moonbound, some food, some games, some resident giveaways, and of course, we are doing book bags again for town residents only, but it is open to all to come out and enjoy the day. But the book bags that we are giving away and the the resident giveaways, of course, is for the residents. So come on out, and if you have a donation that you would like to submit, please just let me know.
Had the library summer kickoff, for many people attended, unfortunately, because of the heat. Also participated in the ARRL's field day, where they practice some emergency communications if needed in terms of a disaster. Attended a CERT meeting, but we are in the process of trying to figure out when is good for people, because we've had such drop off in attendance. More people are working Saturdays or just unavailable. And so we're trying to figure out if there are people who are interested in joining CERT, that is the Community Emergency Response Team, learning about what to do in case of a disaster, and potentially helping out others should a disaster happen. If you're interested, let me know and when you're available, and we'll try and figure out a good schedule for everybody. Also potentially going to a hybrid meeting so people can dial in rather than have to to show up in person. I attended the Development Authority meeting with both President Franklin and Commissioner Lott. They are talking about releasing the old school from the county, and so it would potentially go for bid, so a developer might get it, it might be the town, we'll have to figure that out. They have it priced rather high, which I don't believe reflects its state with the asbestos. Still working on cardboarding type stuff, so hopefully I will have business cards at some point. And met with Administrator Anderson to try and figure out the town's information needs, as that is my background, and trying to clean up the website and their document system to be able to answer questions. So if you've ever had questions of the town that you'd like answered, let me know and I'll try and help get those answered. And also trying to find the town's archive or library. I don't know what happened to all those documents. There was a historic property grants forum, but I did not get notice in time, so. All right, good. Okay, good. I'll follow up that. But upcoming stuff, we're doing board games tomorrow night, 6 to 9 o'clock here, and then again in 2 weeks. I think what's interesting, the CERT meeting will probably be morning of August 9th. Darnell's Chance also has a couple of events on August 6th and the 13th. One is cloth dyeing, the other one's ice cream. And August 2nd, XML protests.
What?
Protests. Next round of protests.
Okay.
National.
Okay, so
Yeah.
we can't go back and forth. We can talk once we're done.
Sorry.
Just okay, so I wanna make a point of clarity, and Administrator Anderson, maybe you have something to say about this. If you have questions about the town's records, if you have donations for the town's events, that needs to go through the town, not through commissioners. Administrator Anderson, what's the best way for people to provide donations or ask questions about town records or infrastructure?
Well, I think the best way for individuals to ask those questions right now would be to contact me at my email address, canderson@uppermarlboromd.gov. That goes directly to me. I check the email every day, and I will be able to answer questions within 24 hours.
And you can also call town hall and ask for Administrator Anderson. He might not be in, but he'd get back to you, right?
Correct.
Okay. All right, so my report, since the last report, we've all went to MML. And one of the things that was really valuable at MML was not just the classes, but I was able to meet with a lot of people from the state and from the county, talk to them about all the exciting things that are happening downtown and all the economic development that we're doing. So I think that was really positive for us. I got a lot of response about this. I have been meeting with property owners, businesses that are here, businesses that are coming, pretty extensively. Sometimes a lot of my week is taken up with that. I know Commissioner Colbert is as well, to try and revitalize downtown. I also attended part of the county economic development tour with the Secretary of Commerce, Booker, and I was able to talk directly with him and chat with him and tell him about Upper Marlboro as well. So that was a great experience for us. Kind of like the 250, which has been important to me as well. The OMS building and getting that on the surplus has been something I've been working very hard on since I came on, actually since I was a commissioner before I was mayor. And so I'm really delighted that that is being put up for the county to consider putting it on the surplus list. As I've said multiple times before, the town getting it is complicated because if we get it, then it has to be used for public use. So we are actively working and communicating with Redevelopment Authority on the use for that building. And the biggest thing that we are always communicating to them is that the use needs to be community supported and it needs to be through a community planning effort. So those conversations have not ended and they will not end. So we'll see what happens with the county council. I don't know if we showed our hand a little bit too much by having a lot of people at that in a negotiation, but we'll see. And lastly, I want to thank Director Bond, and I want to thank Prince George's County's new administration, because Valley Lane had some really bad damage and people couldn't get in and out, even in the truck for Public Works. We were bouncing around, and we called them and reached out to their DCAO. And he picked up the phone, talked to me, and they had made repairs the next day. Now, they're repairs, they're patches. Valley Lane needs a lot of work, but the fact that they were that responsive, just appreciate it. So does staff have anything that they would like to share?
All right, well, this is Town Administrator Anderson again. Good evening. I'll make it brief. I just want to say thank you to Special Assistant Aiden Thomas. Our payment link for business licensing had been down for quite some time, and he got that corrected for us. So now our business owners will be able to renew their business licenses online. During the past several months, I've met with several small businesses in the town to address some of their needs, and I've also worked with Prince George's County Economic Development as well to come up with some solutions for some struggling businesses in downtown. Special Assistant Thomas has been working diligently on the newsletter that will be going out quarterly. We should have a newsletter out by the end of the month. Early July, as a part of your packet, was basically like the front page of what the landings is going to look like this edition. I've interviewed numerous candidates for the deputy town administrator, town clerk position, and I will be making an offer to a candidate by Friday with hopes to have them start by mid-August. And that is all I have.
Thank you. Everybody in the room doesn't know that it was actually an epic task to get that link working again for our businesses. I have tried to do it, and it is extremely time consuming. So thank you guys for getting that going. Director Bond, Chief Burse.
I'm just saying one thing. Just wanted to apologize to the residents. Any disturbance or inconvenience caused by townwide striping performed on July 15th and last night, July 21st. July 15th, we actually worked all night to try to get the town completed. The project was rescheduled 4 times due to rain. So rather than keep pushing you guys notices, we made pretty much a game time decision about an hour before mobilizing. So when there was an opening in the schedule and it wasn't raining, literally we made the call within 2 hours and we were on site. We were able to update all town parking spaces, loading zones, stop lines, turn lanes, crosswalks, and lane delineation for town-owned streets.
And that was while Director Bond was off on personal leave. He came in and worked overnight. So thank you for that commitment. All right. No, we have to let the public comment if they would like to. Chief said no.
That's nice working here. I have to say that I made a call to the town and I got an answering machine and it said, for this go to the court. Basically, I couldn't get through to anybody to speak. And this one, she knew that I was unable to communicate with the town about asking something I had started with I can't remember, with WWS, the water company, and then they sent me to the county, and then the county said no, go to the city, and then I called the number that they gave me, and there was a answering machine, and I was able to have a closure to the issue. So thanks.
Thank you. Administrator Anderson, can you elaborate? Because I know our phone system works and I know people get through. Can you clarify how people get through to a person?
Oh, yeah. So when you call town hall, you are going to get an initial message that gives you directions if you want to contact county courts or other county agencies. If you continue on and listen to the entire message, then it'll ask you if you know your party's extension to enter that extension. If you don't know the party's extension, you can dial 0 or stay on the line, and an employee from the town will answer the phone. I was
I've added to the,
so-
Hold on, let him speak, sorry.
all right.
I'm-
So the I think this particular situation, I was made aware of it, I believe that same day, and I called the line, and I didn't have a problem getting through. It worked as it normally does. So I'm not sure what happened with this particular resident's call, but we haven't had any complaints at all about any calls going to voicemail. So yeah, I don't really
I
know
just want-
what happened with the call. So
That's helpful. I just wanted to clarify how it works. Is there any other public comment in the room? Sorry.
So we just have to hit 0 after you go through a formal thing, just hit 0?
Right, yeah, because if, what happens is if you can just get through to somebody, Miss Lucy, who's in our administrative assistant, spends like at least an hour, if not 2, every day answering calls from people who aren't residents. She still has to answer calls from people who aren't residents nearly as much. And that's better for us because we're having our employees' time be spent on the residents, not.
So after the initial,
They know how to get them off the phone?
so after the initial, telling you this, and this, just wait and hit 0.
Yes,
yes.
or hit 0 in the middle of it.
Okay.
Any other resident comments? Oh, hey, you're gonna check online for me, Aiden? Sorry. All right, we lost her because it's late. All right, is there? I think we're finally on. Oh, preliminary approval of the next meeting agenda. So in August, we've got charter amendments, project management, general government job descriptions, the economic development strategic plan, work group, sorry, and those bullets aren't underneath it. Those are additional bullets, which is continuity of operations plan, elections ordinance, and codification. It is a meaty agenda. So I hope there's no additions to it.
No, there shouldn't be.
Right. Oh. We did just pass a charter amendment that is going to require some additional resolutions, maybe ordinance, but I think just resolutions. So staff will be also evaluating that, and at the next meeting, we can discuss how we'll put those resolutions into our calendar over the next few months. All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
I first.
Well, it's Commissioner Brooks moved. Do you want to second it, Commissioner Lott?
Whatever.
Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. You can talk to us, but